The Riverwood Investment Conference was held at the city's main convention center. By 8:30 in the morning, a steady stream of luxury cars was already pulling into the parking garage. The men and women stepping out were, without exception, the city's elite. By the time Wyatt finished breakfast at Maple Creek Estates and drove over, it was already past 9. The conference didn't officially start until 10, so he wasn't late. He hurried out of his car, took the elevator to the conference floor, and was promptly stopped at the entrance. He needed to show his invitation. Wyatt patted his pockets, a curse forming on his lips. In his rush, he'd left his phone, which he'd been using for navigation, in its dashboard mount. He glanced at the time, about to head back to the car to get it. Just then, 2 men approached from behind. One of them, seeing Wyatt blocking the entrance, deliberately slammed his shoulder into him as he passed. Wyatt turned, looking at the man who'd bumped him. He couldn't have been more than 20, and he was smirking with a look of smug amusement. "Dude, if you're going in, go in," the young man said. "If you can't, don't just stand there clogging up the entrance. There are people behind you." If any of Wyatt's high school classmates had been there, they might have recognized the guy. His name was Connor Chu, Chloe's first boyfriend in college. He had added Wyatt on Facebook Messenger back in the day, only for Wyatt to send him a single, devastating message. "I found out she has an STD," before blocking him. They had never met in person and had no contact since. So, even standing face to face, Wyatt didn't recognize him, and Connor certainly didn't recognize Wyatt. Connor was here with his father. Their family's nightclub business had nearly gone bankrupt, but his father had cleverly pivoted, opening new locations in small, underserved 19th-tier towns where they were a hit. The family had made a comeback, and now father and son were here, hoping to make their grand return to Riverwood by opening the city's largest nightclub, to rise from where they had once fallen. Connor's father's face went cold as he heard his son's taunt. "Knock it off," he snapped. Connor's smile vanished, but as he walked through the doors, he shot one last, insolent smirk back at Wyatt. Wyatt paid him no mind. There was no shortage of idiots in the world. Today just had a few extra. He went back to his car, grabbed his phone, and returned to the entrance. After showing the digital invitation to the staffer, the man's eyes widened in surprise. He immediately called over a female colleague, who then personally escorted Wyatt into the convention hall. At a conference like this, the front row was reserved for the city's top officials and dignitaries, their importance reflected by how close they were to the center of the stage. In government events, even the placement of teacups was measured with a ruler. The seating chart was a matter of strict protocol. The next 3 rows were filled with tables bearing name cards. These seats belonged to the region's biggest business owners, most with net worths in the tens of millions. The rows behind them were for smaller local entrepreneurs, whose seating was first come, first served. When Connor and his father had entered, they had tried to find a spot near the front, but having arrived late, they ended up in the 7th row. Just as Connor was starting to get impatient, a hostess in a stylish sheath dress walked past. His eyes roamed down her body, lingering on her rear. He was enjoying the view when Wyatt walked by, blocking his line of sight. Connor's brow furrowed. He recognized the guy from the entrance, and his expression darkened. Wyatt, however, didn't even glance at him. He simply followed the hostess to the 2nd row, where she guided him to a seat directly in the center. The moment Wyatt sat down, the deputy county executive in the 1st row turned around and began introducing him to the other Riverwood city leaders seated nearby. Wyatt stood politely, shaking their hands with a humble smile, and after a round of mutual flattery, he finally sat back down. At 10 o'clock sharp, the conference officially began. After the host's opening remarks, a series of local leaders took the stage to give speeches. This went on for nearly 40 minutes. At 10:45, the host returned, passionately summarizing the conference's achievements. Then his tone shifted, and now, he announced, his voice booming, "Let us give our warmest round of applause to this year's enterprise representative, the founder and chairman of C. Investments, Mr. Wyatt." The hall erupted in applause. Wyatt rose, nodding to the dignitaries around him, then turned to acknowledge the audience behind him before striding confidently onto the stage. As the crowd saw how young he was, a subtle ripple of surprise went through the room. Many thought to themselves, a new generation of talent has truly arrived. Only Connor Chu's face was a mask of stunned disbelief. How could it be him? On stage, Wyatt was completely at ease. Distinguished leaders, honored guests, and fellow entrepreneurs, "Good morning," he began, his voice calm and steady. First, for nearly 10 minutes, he stood at the podium, unhurried and composed, delivering his prepared speech. When he finished, he bowed to the audience and returned to his seat amidst another wave of applause. His gaze swept over the crowd, passing over Connor without a flicker of recognition, as if he wasn't even there. Wyatt knew that the best revenge against an idiot like that was to simply ignore him. To treat him as an equal would be to lower his own standing. Silence and indifference. Sometimes they solved everything. Connor's father, after watching Wyatt, leaned over and whispered harshly to his son, "You useless brat. If you had a tenth of his ability, I'd be content." Connor just stared blankly, his eyes hollow. After the speeches came the contract signing ceremony. As the largest investor of the conference, Wyatt was front and center, firmly in the spotlight. When the event finally concluded, Wyatt chatted briefly with the city leadership and was about to head home. But the moment he stepped out of the convention center, a swarm of business owners who had been waiting outside descended upon him, all clamoring to hand him their business cards. "Mr. Wyatt, a pleasure to meet you. I'm the general manager of Precision Instruments." "Mr. Wyatt, over here. I'm the head of the Crestview Group." "Mr. Wyatt, I'm Leo Kong from Ecovation Tech. Would it be possible to get your contact information?" After the investment conference, Wyatt called Chris and asked him to put together a team to come to Riverwood. They would be handling the new film studio project. A public-private partnership involved a lot of moving parts, and this was Wyatt's first time dealing with something of this scale. He couldn't manage it alone. Once he was back home, time seemed to speed up, and more than 10 days flew by in a blur. Miranda had gone to Philadelphia, and Charles had returned to his 9-to-5 routine. At his own home, Wyatt's success had elevated his father's standing at work. David's supervisors were now inviting him out for fishing trips and spa days every other week. Sarah, meanwhile, was happily absorbed in the new house, spending her days online browsing design photos and vowing to finish her large cross-stitch piece in time to hang it behind the sofa. With some free time on his hands, Wyatt found himself at Maple Creek Estates almost every day. Today was no exception. He'd arrived early and hadn't left since. By mid-May, Riverwood was already showing signs of summer. Even at 5 in the afternoon, the sun was still high in the sky. Chloe glanced at the clock and deliberately remarked, "My dad will be off work soon." Wyatt knew exactly what she meant. "My dad's coming home, so you can leave now?" But he played dumb. "It's still early. What's the rush?" Seeing her unmoved expression, he added, "Tell your dad to make a few extra dishes tonight. I'm staying for dinner." Chloe shot a leg out and kicked him playfully. "Have you no shame? What's there to be ashamed of? You're so shameless. Haven't you noticed your dad's attitude towards me has completely changed? When we first met, he never had a nice thing to say to me. Now it's all Wyatt this, Wyatt that. He says my name more affectionately than your mom does." Chloe thought about it and realized he was right, but she still gave him another light kick. "Don't get cocky." Wyatt's reflexes were sharp. He caught her foot, and just as he was about to tickle it, his phone rang. "Hello. Yes, this is him. Is that right? That's fantastic. Okay, no problem." Seeing the broad smile on his face, Chloe pulled her foot back and scooted closer to eavesdrop, but he hung up just as she leaned in. "Who was that?" she asked. "The Bentley I promised you has arrived. We can pick it up tomorrow morning." "A Bentley? The one with the wings on the hood?" "Yep. When did you even buy it?" Chloe asked, surprised. "I was called to ask about it one day. They said they could have it delivered to Riverwood within a week, so I put down a deposit. I didn't expect them to be so fast. And you didn't tell me." "Well, I'm telling you now, aren't I?" "Oomph. That car wasn't cheap," he teased. "I got you a car, so what are you going to reward me with?" Chloe knew that tone. He was up to no good. She started to get up and move to the other end of the sofa, but he grabbed her arm. "Where do you think you're going?" "To get a glass of water." "Nice try. Let go, my dad will be back any minute." "So what if he comes back?" "I'm not scared of him." Chloe feigned surrender. Then, when he least expected it, she sprang up and darted out of his reach. "Are you crazy?" she yelled. "I told you, the cameras are back on in here. I'll go unplug them." "No." "Then you come over here." "No." "Fine. If you won't come to me, I'll come to you." Wyatt got up and started towards her. Chloe bolted, not even stopping to put on her shoes. They chased each other around the sofa several times before she finally gave in, laughing as he caught her from behind and lifted her into his arms. "Let me go. I finally caught you." "You're not getting away," Wyatt chuckled. "Off we go. Time to consummate the marriage." Just as the two of them were lost in their playful moment, the living room door swung open. Charles stood in the doorway, hands full of groceries from his after-work shopping trip, staring at the intertwined couple with a look of pure bewilderment. Wyatt noticed him at the same time and quickly set Chloe down. With incredible shamelessness, he offered a cheerful greeting. "Hey, Charles, you're back." Chloe glanced at the door, shot Wyatt a death glare, then scurried over to the sofa and sat down, trying to look as innocent as possible. Charles felt trapped, unsure whether to advance or retreat. That hit him. "Wait a minute. This is my house. Why do I feel like the third wheel?" Muttering under his breath, he entered the living room, changed his shoes, and dropped the groceries in the kitchen. As he washed the rice, he called out to the two in the other room. Your mom said she's coming home this Friday. If I'm not off work when she arrives, you two go pick her up from the station. Okay, Chloe replied. You two have been in Riverwood for over half a month now. When are you planning to go back to New York? Soon, Wyatt answered. Probably next week. I still need to wrap things up with the film studio project. The conversation died. To cut the awkward silence, Chloe turned on the TV. Wyatt showed no signs of leaving. Half an hour passed. Dinner's ready, Charles called, bringing the last dish to the table. Wyatt walked over, while Chloe went straight into the kitchen. When she emerged, she was holding 2 bowls of rice. She handed one to Wyatt and was about to keep the other for herself, but seeing the dark look on her father's face, she reluctantly gave it to him and went back to the kitchen to get another for herself. The meal was silent, with no one saying a word. After eating, Chloe disappeared into the bathroom. Charles began clearing the table. Wyatt quietly snuck upstairs and retrieved the guitar Chloe had put away. On his way out, he was spotted by Charles. Charles, Wyatt whispered, don't tell her I took this, okay? Charles nodded, watching as Wyatt put on his shoes at the door. A wave of relief washed over him. Thank God he's not staying the night. Wyatt drove back to his own house to find only his mother there. Where's Dad? Huh, said his boss invited him out to dinner, so he went along. If he wants to go, let him. If he doesn't, you should tell him he can just say no next time. Getting your father to say the word no is a monumental task, Sarah said, then changed the subject, pointing towards his room. I was making your bed this morning. What's in that box under your pillow? An engagement ring. A ring? Yeah, for Chloe. The anniversary of when we first met is coming up. I'm thinking of proposing, and then we'll get the license. Sarah stared at him for a long moment, stunned. When she recovered, she pulled him close, eagerly asking for all the details. Wyatt reluctantly laid out his plan. After hearing it, Sarah broke into a wide, happy smile. You little rascal, she said, beaming. So much more thoughtful than your father. The next day, Wyatt was out the door early. After waiting at Maple Creek Estates for Chloe to finish her makeup, they drove together to the dealership. Wyatt had chosen the color and specifications for the Bentley Continental himself. It was pure white, with a striking two-tone interior of orange and white leather and suede. The front was dominated by 2 massive, eye-like headlights, giving it a stunning look. Chloe's expression was calm, but the sparkle in her eyes gave her away. She loved it. After paying the remaining balance, getting insurance on his phone, and putting on the temporary license plate, Wyatt drove the Bentley onto a quiet state highway with little traffic. A few minutes later, he pulled over. Here, your turn to drive. Okay. Chloe quickly hopped out of the passenger seat and slid behind the wheel. She shifted into gear with practiced ease and slowly released the brake. As the car began to move, she murmured, it's so fast with just a light touch on the pedal. Do you like it? I love it. But there's a bit of a smell in here. All new cars are like that. You can buy an air freshener for it online. Okay. How much did this cost? Not expensive. Are we going to drive this to New York? Whatever you want. Chloe smiled. I think we should leave it here. We already have a car in New York. Seeing her happy expression, Wyatt couldn't help but smile too. When your emotions are swayed by someone else's, that's affection. When they feel it too, that's love. Leo hadn't returned to Riverwood for Memorial Day weekend. Instead, he had used the 3-day break to visit Sophie's family. His relationship with Sophie's parents wasn't as close as Wyatt's was with Chloe's, but Sophie video chatted with her family often, and whenever Leo was around, she would pull him into the frame to say a few words. Over the past year, Leo had changed significantly. He was calmer, more reserved. When a person goes from talkative to quiet, from extroverted to introverted, it usually means they've matured. This trip to Philadelphia, the reception he received was on a whole new level. When Stephen and Teresa heard that Leo was now a vice president at a billion-dollar gaming company and was planning to buy a house in New York, they couldn't stop smiling. Sophie's younger brother, Ben, was the same as ever, secretly pulling Leo aside, calling him bro-in-law, and begging for a bunch of League of Legends skins. The day before they were set to leave, Teresa sat them both down to talk about marriage, asking about their plans. It was the first time the topic had been brought up, and Sophie was a little shy. Leo, however, was very thoughtful. He explained that work was still very busy this year, and he hadn't finalized the house yet, so it wouldn't be possible. If it was all right with them, he'd like to have things settled by the end of 2019. Teresa nodded enthusiastically, saying good, 3 times in a row. She was one step short of calling him son-in-law. On the drive back from Philadelphia, Leo was beaming the whole way. Sophie told him he was being ridiculous. He told her she didn't understand. She asked what she didn't understand. Was it just because her mom had praised him a few times? Was that enough to make him this happy for so long? Leo changed the subject. Do you know what the most humiliating moment of my life was? Sophie shook her head. It was during my junior year, he began. I think it was during holiday weekend. You and Ashley had gone home. Wyatt, Chloe, Michael, Isabel, and I were out for dinner. Afterwards, we were all in an elevator to leave. The elevator was packed, and someone had already pressed the button for the parking garage, P1. I didn't have a car, so I was the only one who walked forward and pressed one for the ground floor. I've never looked down on you for not having a car. I know. It was just a man's pride. So you went back alone that day? Sophie pressed. Leo shook his head and smiled. No. When the elevator doors opened on the ground floor, Wyatt got out with me. He didn't say anything, but I knew he understood what I was thinking. He really is very thoughtful. I've already decided. If he has a son and we have a daughter, we'll arrange a marriage for them. You're so old-fashioned, Sophie teased. What if they have a daughter and we have a son? Then we'll leave it up to fate. And what if they both have sons? Duh. Then they'll be brothers, obviously. Leo paused, then added with a goofy grin, but we probably won't get the short end of the stick. Wyatt is handsome, and Chloe is beautiful. Their kids are bound to be good-looking. Huh. Let's see you have a kid first. That's something we have to work on together. Pervert. Haha. You've hardly ever called me a pervert. What, you want me to? No. I was just thinking about my freshman and sophomore years, when you guys were calling Wyatt a pervert and a player all the time. The memory took them back 2 years, and Sophie, sitting in the passenger seat, began to laugh along with him. After Mandy's 3 roommates were signed by Starlight Media, they spent most of their weekends at the company. Mandy was bored to death alone in the dorm. All she wanted was for May and June to fly by, so she could start her summer internship with J.C. at the company. Then, she could finally be with him openly. On Friday night, Mandy showered and got into bed early. Knowing J.C. would be free, she had rushed through dinner and her shower to make time for the video call. At 8 o'clock on the dot, she sent the video request, and he answered almost immediately. Unlike Mandy, J.C. took the call out into the hallway, not wanting to disturb his roommates. Hey, have you eaten? She chirped. I have. Just got back to the dorm. Is it hot in D.C.? Lately, pretty hot. The high was almost 85 degrees. It's a little cool at night if you're just in a t-shirt. I went out to eat with my roommates tonight. We had spicy ramen. Let me tell you, it was so authentic. The bamboo shoots and fried tofu were amazing, but it was a little too spicy. I didn't dare eat too much. I'm afraid of breaking out. Do you think I've gotten fat? Whenever they video chatted, Mandy would talk a mile a minute, turning even the smallest details into a rich story. G.C. would always listen with a gentle smile. He found her most adorable in these moments, and he wished he could reach through the phone and pull her into a tight hug. You're not fat at all. I don't even dare to get on the scale. I've stopped eating snacks and everything. I decided that starting tomorrow, I'm going to do yoga with my roommate. Yoga? Yeah, she does it every day. She has a great figure. I think you're already very slim. Wow, J.C., you've gotten so smooth. You're getting better and better with your words. Heck, how about you say something even nicer? Like what? Say, I love you. Huh? What, huh? Just say it. I love you. That was so half-hearted. Next time, you have to say it to my face. Okay. Outside the train station, Miranda stood on the curb with her handbag, her eyes wide with astonishment as Wyatt and Chloe got out of the Bentley parked in front of her. You too. How did you? Get in, Miranda. We'll talk in the car, Wyatt said, opening the rear door. Once she was settled, he slid back into the passenger seat. As the car pulled away, Miranda, having recovered from her shock, smiled. Wyatt, you really bought Chloe a car? Yep. It just arrived yesterday. When are you two heading back to New York? Next week, probably. We're not in a rush. Everything at the company is being managed, and I wanted to spend some extra time at home to see what difference it makes whether I'm there or not. Have a design plans for the house come in. Two have, two haven't. Should be in the next day or so. We'll all look at them together and pick the best one. I need to sign a contract with the construction company before I leave. Then my parents will oversee the rest. Miranda nodded, saying nothing more. Back at Maple Creek Estates, the family had lunch. Chloe accidentally spilled some soup on her clothes and went upstairs to shower. Charles retreated to the kitchen to resume his role as the family chef. Miranda sat on the sofa, nursing a glass of water. With her husband and daughter out of earshot, she leaned in and whispered to Wyatt, Is it tonight? Yes. Wyatt moved closer, holding out his phone. Miranda, tomorrow. Can you have her wear this outfit? She peered at the screen, a slight frown of confusion on her face. Wyatt explained, This is what she was wearing the first time we met. It's in the walk-in closet, second cubby on the right. Understanding dawned on Miranda's face. She smiled without a word, her mind already painting a picture of the evening to come. I should get going then, Wyatt said. I have a few more things to arrange. I won't come over tomorrow. I'll just ask her to meet me in the evening. Okay. Drive safely. May 20th, 5-20. The numbers, when spoken in Chinese, sound like, I love you. No one knew when it started, but the day had become another special Valentine's Day in the country. Wyatt was up at the crack of dawn. He rummaged through his closet for a long time before finally finding the outfit he'd worn that summer 4 years ago. It was a plain white t-shirt, which his mother had washed and stored, so well it had started to turn slightly yellow. The pants were simple black casual slacks. The original shoes were long gone, so he substituted them with a pair of clean white Nike Air Force 1s. When he walked out of his room, his parents stared. Son, why are you? Don't ask. Dad, hurry and get me something to eat. I have to leave soon. His father scoffed. Who do you think you're ordering around, you little punk? Sarah slapped her husband on the back. Just go. David's smirk vanished, and he obediently went to the kitchen to get a bowl of dumplings. Sarah, meanwhile, went into Wyatt's room to make his bed. As she did, she checked under the pillow. Seeing that the ring box was gone, she instantly understood why he was wearing such an old outfit. A smile spread across her face, but she sighed inwardly. Huh, both named Wyatt, father and son. Why are they so different? Miranda went into Chloe's room early in the morning, using the excuse of cleaning to pace back and forth. The noise quickly woke Chloe up. Seeing her mother with a mop, she sighed in frustration. Mom, what are you doing? Get up and wash your hair. It's a mess. Chloe threw back the covers, ready to find something to wear, but Miranda stopped her. You go wash your hair first. I'll find your clothes. When Miranda was home, she often laid out Chloe's clothes for the next day on the bay window seat. Chloe was used to it. She turned and went into the bathroom. Seeing her disheveled hair and thinking that Wyatt might take her to get their marriage license today, she quickly washed it. When she came out after blow-drying her hair, she saw an outfit laid out on the bed and froze. Mom, I haven't worn this in ages. It looks good on you. Want to make me look too young? No. All right. Chloe unbuttoned her pajamas and started to change. Noticing Miranda staring at her, she asked uncomfortably, Mom, what are you looking at? Miranda chuckled. You're shy now? I used to give you baths when you were in high school. That's not the same thing. Fine. I'm leaving. Chloe came downstairs, ate breakfast, and then sat waiting for Wyatt to arrive. But as the hours ticked by, he never came. There wasn't even a text message. Her mood began to sour. Noon came and went. Seeing Chloe's unhappy face, Miranda tried to cover for Wyatt. I bet Wyatt had to go take care of things at the film studio today. That's probably why he didn't come by this morning. Chloe pouted. I don't know. Well, why don't you ask him? I'm not going to ask him, she said, acting stubborn. It's okay, Charles chimed in. I'm free this afternoon. I can take you shopping. I don't want to go. I want to sleep. Chloe pushed her bowl away and stomped upstairs. Back in her room, she flopped onto the bed, muttering jerk, idiot bastard under her breath. Seeing the stitch plushie Wyatt had given her on her pillow, she snatched it up and punched it dozens of times with her little fists. At that very moment, on the shores of South Lake, Wyatt was directing the setup. All these fireworks need to be hidden. Make sure no one sees them. Tonight, you wait for my call. The second the phone rings, you light them all up. No problem. Can you get them to ignite simultaneously? There will be some margin of error, but it'll definitely be within 5 seconds. Good. Thanks for your hard work. Mr. Wyatt, my camera position will probably be over there, so I might not get a frontal shot, but I can use a drone to get an overhead view. Okay. Will it be clear enough at night? Absolutely. Perfect. After arranging everything, Wyatt sat down on the same stone bench where Chloe had sat when they first met. He glanced at the time and finally sent her a text. I'm so sorry. Something came up at the film studio last minute. I should be done in about an hour. Bring your birth certificate and social security card, and meet me in an hour at the spot where we first met on South Lake. Chloe, who had been sulking all day, saw the message and immediately replied. It's okay. I'll head over around 7:30. Wyatt, yep. I'll be waiting. Chloe jumped up, shyly asked Miranda for the necessary documents, and then happily grabbed the Bentley keys and headed out the door. Miranda chuckled to herself. Charles, completely bewildered, said, Wait a minute. The county clerk's office isn't open at night. Riverwood was a small city. At night, apart from the brightly lit downtown area, most places grew quiet. The 2 rows of streetlights by the lake cast a faint yellow glow, barely illuminating the road. Wyatt leaned against the lakeside railing, his thoughts once again drifting back to that summer 4 years ago. Everything had started then. There would never be another summer as beautiful as that one. Chloe drove from her house, following the navigation to the shore of South Lake. She parked on the side of the road, looked around, and then called Wyatt. Hey, I'm here. Where are you? Remember the spot where we first met? Wyatt's voice smiled through the phone. I'm waiting for you there. He hung up. Chloe stood for a moment, then quickly got out of the car. Standing on the roadside, she looked down and saw a lone figure. She hurried down the stairs. Even before she reached him, she called out, "Aren't we going to get our license? What are we doing here?" Wyatt laughed. "Silly, the county clerk's office doesn't stay open at night." Huh. As Chloe got closer, she finally saw what Wyatt was wearing. She stopped, a look of dawning recognition on her face. She pointed at him, then looked down at her own clothes. "How did you?" Before she could finish, Wyatt pointed to the stone bench beside him. "Look what I brought." Chloe turned, and her eyes went wide. A guitar was resting peacefully on the bench. She understood everything in an instant, even guessing what he was about to do. "You're not going to propose to me, are you?" she asked a little too bluntly. "No." Wyatt slapped his forehead, feigning exasperation. "Can you give me a little suspense, please? You just blurted it out. How am I supposed to do the rest of this now?" Chloe laughed. She walked over and sat down on the same bench she had sat on all those years ago. She picked up the guitar and held it in her lap, her bright eyes fixed on Wyatt. With a look of pure anticipation and delight, she said, "Okay, pretend I didn't say anything. Please begin your performance." "You've ruined the mood," he grumbled. He walked over, sat next to her, and pulled the ring box from his pocket, holding it out to her. "Let's just get this over with." Chloe grabbed his ear and twisted. "No way. You don't propose sitting down. You've got a point." Wyatt set the ring box aside and took the guitar from her. "Remember what song we sang here that night?" "Hey, there, Delilah. Want to hear it?" "Yes." He strummed a few chords, then stood up and moved back to the spot where he had stood 4 years ago. He cleared his throat with an exaggeratedly loud cough, making Chloe giggle on the bench. But then his expression turned serious. As the familiar intro began, his voice drifted out, soft and clear. "Hey there, Delilah. What's it like in New York City? I'm 1,000 miles away, but girl, tonight you look so pretty." Chloe leaned back on the bench, her head tilted up at him, her beautiful face lit with a smile, her eyes crinkling into happy crescents. As he reached the chorus, she couldn't help but hum along softly. "Oh, it's what you do to me. Oh, it's what you do to me." As the final notes faded, Wyatt took the guitar off and walked back to her, asking shamelessly, "So, was I handsome?" For once, Chloe nodded. Instead of her usual, "so ugly," she replied happily, "Very handsome." Who was more handsome? Me 4 years ago, or me now? If the word handsome were replaced with pretty and a girl had asked the question, it would have been a classic trap. But Chloe, having been tricked by Wyatt countless times, was no longer the naive girl she once was. She deftly changed the subject. "I remember that night 4 years ago, there was a moon and stars. When you stood there singing, you were like the hero in a movie. Tonight, there's only a moon, no stars. It feels like something's missing." "No problem," Wyatt said with a grand gesture. "I'll just give God a call and ask him to hang up the stars for us." "Huh, you're bluffing again." But Wyatt actually took out his phone and dialed a number. After whispering a few words, he hung up and said confidently, "The stars will be here any second." "I don't believe you." Her words were cut off by a sudden boom. Along the entire 3-mile shoreline of South Lake, a dazzling display of light shot into the sky. Countless bursts of fire erupted, transforming into brilliant, glittering stars. No one had expected a spectacular fireworks show at South Lake tonight. Passing cars instinctively pulled over to the side of the road. Nearby residents, hearing the noise, came out of their homes, standing on their balconies and by their windows to watch. Chloe stood up, her face a picture of astonishment. She looked at the fireworks in the sky, then back at Wyatt. Unconsciously, she covered her mouth with her hand as 2 tears welled up in her red-rimmed eyes and streamed down her face. Wyatt took her hand and led her to the railing, where they stood together, quietly watching the show he had prepared just for her. As the fireworks were about to end, one final, massive firework was launched from directly across the lake. With a whoosh, a streak of light tore through the night sky. It exploded in a riot of color, like a blossoming flower, like a shower of falling stars. Some lights faded quickly, while others lingered, forming 4 large words, "Marry me." Wyatt pulled the ring, which he had already taken from the box, out of his pocket. Letting go of her hand, he knelt on one knee. He looked up at her, his smile gentle. "Will you marry me?" Chloe nodded furiously, her voice choked with emotion. "I will." She held out her right hand. He slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. She pulled him up from the ground and threw herself into his arms. Her right hand, now adorned with the ring, lightly tapped his chest. You big jerk, she whispered, then wrapped her arms tightly around his waist. Why are you crying? I'm not crying. My shirt is all wet. That's snot. Then you'd better hide your face in my chest, so no one else sees you like this. Chloe lifted her head and grabbed the collar of his shirt. Quick, kiss me. At Maple Creek Estates, in the yard, Charles watched the distant fireworks, still in disbelief. Did that kid really do all this? He asked. Miranda smiled and nodded. A show this big must have cost a fortune, right? Hearing this, Miranda turned and stomped hard on his foot. Charles, can't you be romantic for 1 second? Wyatt is proposing to your daughter, and you're talking about money. Charles knew he was in the wrong. He grimaced in pain, but didn't argue. A moment later, however, he asked, I was pretty rough on him before. You don't think he'll hold a grudge, do you? Miranda let out a cold laugh. What, are you scared now? It's not that I'm scared. I just don't want to be the odd one out when the rest of you are all one big happy family. Don't worry, he won't. Tell me the truth, Charles said. Back when you first let them get together, you were taking a gamble, weren't you? No, I don't believe you. For years ago, he had nothing. Why would you approve of your daughter being with him? Because he's handsome, Miranda said with a smile, deliberately trying to provoke him. If I were 20 years younger, I'd be looking for a boyfriend like Wyatt too. Hey, isn't that going a little too far? What? You disagree? Charles pulled Miranda into his arms. I agree. How could I not? From now on, I'll just be a nice guy like David to avoid offending anyone. Miranda leaned against him, her eyes on the 4 words still faintly visible in the sky. Oh, you've had an epiphany, have you? She teased. Of course. Charles stood there for a moment, then asked, They probably won't be back for a while, right? Right. So, should we go upstairs? What for? Well, you useless man, Miranda huffed. She grabbed his tie and led him back into the house. On another balcony, Sarah and David were also watching the unexpected fireworks display. Sarah nudged her husband with her elbow. Guess what part your son is at right now? How would I know? Haven't you ever watched a movie? This is the part where your son gets down on one knee and says, Chloe, will you marry me? Then the daughter-in-law cries and nods and says, I will. Then they hug and kiss. You've been watching too many movies. Sarah kicked him. David quickly stepped back, a placating smile on his face. But our son did good. We don't have to worry about a thing. Look at the Wong's 2 sons. The older one is 32, the younger is 28, and both are still single. I heard they're even going on dates with divorcees now. Look at our son, just graduated from college, and he's already about to be married. At this rate, we'll be holding our grandkids soon. Sarah's face lit up. I wonder how many they'll want to have. How many do you want them to have? The more the merrier, of course. Will you be able to handle it? We'll have her mother to help, won't we? And if that's not enough, we can hire a nanny. I'm not sure your son gets a say in that. It's fine. I'll talk to your son first, and then have him work his magic on Chloe. If we keep kissing, our lips are really going to swell up. Chloe had been basking in the joy of the moment, but Wyatt's comment snapped her out of it. She pushed him away. Wyatt held out a hand. Come on, let's go register at the county clerk's office. Chloe looked curious. Didn't you say it's closed at night? I pulled some strings a while ago, he explained. They're staying open until 9 tonight, just waiting for us. Since when do you have that kind of pull? I don't know. Ever since I got rich, everyone's my friend, and everything's become easier. There you go, getting cocky again. Let's go. It's getting windy by the lake. I don't want you to catch a cold. You know, she said, you still haven't bought me flowers today. Seriously? You're still keeping score? What do you mean keeping score? Buying flowers is a given. They walked and talked, and as they reached the road, a man walked up to them and handed Wyatt a second key to the Bentley. Wyatt took it, led Chloe to the back of the car, and pressed the button to open the trunk. It lifted to reveal a sea of vibrant red roses, accented with balloons and strings of twinkling fairy lights. This, Wyatt smiled. All right, Your Highness, is there anything else you're dissatisfied with? Chloe's eyes sparkled. I like that nickname. You can call me that from now on. Are you starting a rebellion? Are you going to call me that or not? I will. Now get in the car. If we're any later, they really will be closed. They drove to the county clerk's office, filled out the paperwork, had their documents reviewed, and, after reciting their vows, they received their marriage certificate. Finally, Wyatt drove back to Maple Creek Estates. But Chloe didn't let him pull up to the house. They stayed parked at the entrance to the community for a long time, talking for hours. It was deep in the night before Wyatt finally drove her home. Chloe walked into the living room, holding the marriage certificate for all to see. Miranda and Charles were still awake. When Chloe came in, Miranda's eyes immediately fell on the bright red folder in her hand. Charles grumbled, I was starting to think you weren't coming home tonight. Chloe ignored him completely. She walked over, tossed the certificate to Miranda for safekeeping, and then skipped happily up the stairs. At the landing, she poked her head back out and ordered, "Dad, there are flowers in the trunk of my car. Get them all out for me. Don't let them wilt." "I know." After Chloe went upstairs, Charles immediately scooted over to Miranda, and they eagerly opened the certificate. "It has the official seal. It's real." "What nonsense. Why would your daughter bring home a fake one?" "Since when is the county clerk's office open at night?" With the certificate in hand, they were now legally husband and wife, even if they hadn't had the reception yet. For some reason, seeing the document gave Miranda a sense of peace. She stood up. "I'm heading up. You get the flowers from your daughter's car, and remember to turn off the lights." "Okay." Charles dutifully took the car keys and went outside. He expected to find a bouquet in the trunk, but when he opened it, he found it overflowing with loose, unbundled red roses. He had no idea where to even begin. But it didn't matter. An order from his wife and daughter was an order. He went back inside for a pair of gloves and began the tedious task of removing the thorny roses, one by one, from the trunk and carrying them into the house. He couldn't help but complain to himself. Why is it that when that little bastard proposes, I'm the one who ends up doing all the damn work? The story of the mysterious man's proposal at South Lake spread through Riverwood the next day. In a small city like Riverwood, any bit of news could travel from one end of town to the other in no time. Wyatt wasn't surprised, and he was grateful he hadn't put his and Chloe's names up in the fireworks. The next morning, after waking up, Wyatt went straight to Maple Creek Estates. As soon as he walked in, he called out, "Mom, Dad," and then held his hand out to Charles, jokingly asking for a son-in-law signing bonus. Charles proudly turned his head, claiming to be broke and telling him to ask his mother for money. Wyatt was just teasing his new father-in-law, not actually expecting any money, but Miranda still gave him an envelope. When Chloe saw it, she called him shameless. Wyatt shot back, full of confidence. "You're just now figuring that out?" That afternoon, Wyatt took Chloe to the newly established Riverwood Real Estate Investment Company, the public-private entity created for the film studio project. After finalizing some details, he picked up his parents and brought them to Maple Creek Estates for dinner. He pulled up 4 design proposals on a tablet for the family to review. The 4 styles were distinct: a modern craftsman fusion, a Scandinavian minimalist style, a modern minimalist style, and an Italian Tuscan style. The design firms were all experienced, and Wyatt, having already renovated one house in New York, knew what pitfalls to avoid and had given them clear instructions. The main purpose of the evening was simply to choose a style. As Wyatt expected, Sarah and Charles were drawn to the modern craftsman look. David preferred the Italianate style, while Miranda remained neutral, asking Chloe, "Which style do you like?" Chloe shook her head, claiming she had decision paralysis and didn't want to choose. So all eyes turned to Wyatt. He had already reviewed the 4 designs. The Italianate style was the first to go. It looked nice, but was impractical. It would be a nightmare to clean without a full-time housekeeper. The second to be eliminated was the Scandinavian style, which was better suited for smaller homes. Their new house, a yard of nearly 3 acres, that style wouldn't fit. Wyatt was torn between the modern craftsman, a blend of traditional and modern, and the modern minimalist, a popular and clean choice that was hard to get wrong. "I can't decide between these two," he admitted. "How about we vote?" "Good idea." The proposal was unanimously approved. "All in favor of the modern craftsman, raise your hand." Sarah and Charles immediately raised their hands. David, his own preference having been eliminated, sided with his wife. Wyatt raised his own hand as well. "Then there's no need to hesitate," he said. "We'll go with this plan." "Okay, I'll contact the design firm tonight," Wyatt continued. "Tomorrow morning, they'll coordinate with the construction company. Mom, Dad, the rest is up to you. Chloe and I are heading back to New York tomorrow afternoon." Wyatt had returned to Riverwood at the end of April, and it was now nearly the end of May. The calls from the office were becoming more frequent. He couldn't put it off any longer. "You focus on your work out there," David said confidently. "I'll oversee the construction. I guarantee there won't be any problems." "Oh, you stop it," Sarah teased him, then smiled. "Once construction starts, we'll take pictures every day and send them to the group chat to show you the progress." Charles added, "It's only May. If there are no delays, it should be finished before the end of the year." Miranda glanced at the time and stood up, smiling. "It's getting late. Sarah, let's go out to eat tonight." "It's too late to start cooking now." "Good idea." The 2 mothers, both eagerly awaiting grandchildren, linked arms and headed out the door. Charles and David exchanged a knowing smile. Wyatt and Chloe followed behind, hand in hand, happiness made tangible in that moment. Wyatt and Chloe returned to New York the next day after lunch. They didn't take the Bentley, They had cars in New York, and the new one didn't have New York plates, which would have been inconvenient. As soon as he got home that evening, Wyatt went straight to the office. See, Investments was running like a well-oiled machine, with established procedures that required little of his attention. Deadless Robotics, on the other hand, which had been quiet, had sent him several messages while he was away, claiming a technological breakthrough in their own patent. They were already testing the first-generation product. Wyatt parked and took the elevator up to the Deadless Robotics office. Mr. Wyatt, Mr. Wyatt, where's Logan? Wyatt asked directly. Logan's in the lab. Wyatt strode into the lab, and the other employees followed him in. Logan Bell, who was in the middle of testing a robotic dog, saw Wyatt and stood up excitedly. Mr. Wyatt, you're finally here. Wyatt's attention was already captured by the robotic dog on the floor. It was sleek, with a titanium-colored body, its torso and four legs appearing almost seamless. The head, however, was a bit jarring, studded with cameras, radar sensors, and other equipment. Show me what it can do, he said. No problem. Logan's voice was filled with excitement. We've embedded AI functionality. It responds to fixed voice commands instantly. For example, Buddy sit. The robotic dog heard the command and promptly sat down. Buddy forward. The dog obeyed, its movements fluid and natural. Logan went on to demonstrate more functions: obstacle avoidance, a 360-degree backflip from a standing position, and a follow-me mode. What impressed Wyatt the most was its payload capacity of 15 kilograms. It could actually be used to transport items. Finally, Logan showed him a simulated mountain path they had built in the lab with rocks and dirt. The robotic dog navigated the rugged terrain with ease. Wyatt smiled. Why do you call it Buddy? Well, you gave us 2 years, mister. Wyatt, Logan explained. We nicknamed it Little 2 at first, and it just sort of stuck. Of course, if we mass-produce it, we'll need a proper name. Maybe something like AIGO. If you were to mass-produce it, what's your estimated cost? Well, we haven't calculated that exactly, but the cost to build this one prototype was about $15,000. With mass production, the cost per unit would likely come down. Give me a proposal by the end of the month. I want the factory built before the end of the year at the latest. We'll hold a launch event, earliest by the end of this year, latest by the first quarter of next year. Yes, sir. Oh, and by the way, I don't think anyone has told you yet, but we're moving to the new office building in June. You'll have an entire floor to yourselves, 10,000 square feet. You can start planning the layout now. Thank you, Mr. Wyatt. Don't thank me. You've earned it. I told you from the beginning. You do your job, and I'll take care of all the logistics. Wyatt smiled, his gaze lingering on the robotic dog for a second before he headed upstairs. You're finally back, you bastard. Leo grinned, throwing an arm around Wyatt's shoulders as he walked into the office. I heard all about it from my mom. May 20th, you proposed to Chloe. Wow, Leo, your sources are good. It was in the Riverwood Daily paper. If I didn't know about it, I might as well be dead. Cut the crap. How's the company been? Leo's smile widened. Same as always. Revenue looks good when we have events running. On weekdays, we're doing about 6 to 8 million a day. Not bad. Are you planning any new games? Leo pointed towards the planning department. They're working on a new social deduction game called Foul Play. It should be ready to launch around the fall. Good. Well, you get back to it. I just got to New York this afternoon. I'm heading home for dinner. Hey, spit it out. After Sophie and I got back from our Memorial Day trip, we looked at a few apartments. There's one for about $900,000 that we both really like. Wyatt smiled. If you like it, get it. But we want to negotiate the price. We found out that the same floor plan sold for $850,000 in the spring. Wyatt frowned. I thought prices in the inner ring of Pudong were around $10,000 a square foot. For a $900,000 place, what's the square footage? Leo scratched his head, a little embarrassed. Barely 900 square feet of living space. What are you going to do with 900 square feet? It's fine for the two of you. But what about when you have kids? It's a place to live, Leo said. We can think about kids later. And if the value goes up, we can save up for a few years and maybe upgrade to a small house. Wyatt spoke with the wisdom of foresight. In a place like New York, a property in a good location will always hold its value. You should just get it right the first time. I only sold a small portion of my shares, and it wasn't enough. Sophie saved up some money from her job at YW, so we could just barely scrape together $900,000. Wyatt let out a long sigh and clapped Leo on the shoulder. Fine. I must have owed you in a past life, he said, his tone long-suffering. You make about $250,000 a year now. I'll lend you another $450,000. Pay me back in 3 years. That should be enough to get you a place over 1,000 square feet in a decent part of Pudong. What? What do you mean, what? I'm lending you money, and you're surprised? Wyatt rolled his eyes. I have a bank info. I'll transfer it to you tonight. With that, he turned and left the office. Back at home, Chloe was in the kitchen, enthusiastically stir-frying. Wyatt dropped his car keys and walked to the doorway, surprised. Didn't we clear out the fridge before we left? When did you go grocery shopping? Shelley from across the street drove me. You sat in the car all afternoon. Aren't you tired? I thought we agreed to eat out tonight. I enjoy cooking. Are you saying you don't enjoy eating? Wyatt laughed. Of course I enjoy it. How could I not? Is everything okay at the office? Fine. Chloe smiled. See? It doesn't make a difference whether you're there or not. Beginnings are always the hardest. I got things started, so it's easier for them now. As he spoke, a movie came to mind, Hello, Mr. Billionaire. If you remember correctly, it was set to be released in a couple of months. The protagonist, Wang Duoyu, found that the more money he spent, the more money he made. It was true. With money, everything becomes easier. The same task, undertaken by a rich person and a poor person, could yield completely different results. What are you spacing out for? Go get the rice. When we ate at your place, you always got it for me. Chloe shot him a glare. You're really enjoying this, aren't you? Do you want me to give you a massage later, and then help you take a bath? That sounds great. In your dreams. Go get the rice. Wyatt chuckled and went into the kitchen, emerging with 2 bowls of rice. They had been in Riverwood for over 20 days, and Wyatt had been staying at his own house, so they hadn't spent much time together at night. After dinner, they sat on the sofa, one looking at their phone, the other watching TV, both seemingly distracted. Finally, Chloe paused the TV. You need to shave. Wyatt, having just transferred the money to Leo, rubbed his chin. I'll do it tomorrow morning when I wash my face. Chloe didn't reply. She got up, went to her suitcase, found Wyatt's electric razor, and then sat back down on the sofa, patting her thigh. Come here. Wyatt glanced over, quickly put down his phone, and lazily stretched out on the sofa. Listening to the hum of the razor and feeling the gentle touch on his chin, Wyatt relaxed completely. And just like that, he fell asleep. When he woke up, he was still lying on Chloe's lap. She placed a cool hand on his forehead and said softly, a hint of indulgence in her voice, You big pig. You fell asleep the second you lay down. Wyatt blinked, then sat up and stretched. He squatted down into a horse stance and held out his hands. Get on. What for? Time for your shot. Get lost. Chloe slapped his hands, making a sharp, clear sound. Wyatt persisted. Hurry up. I'm gonna get fresh with you. Chloe blinked, then stood up from the sofa and wrapped her arms around his neck. Wyatt smoothly scooped her up in a princess carry, and they headed upstairs. A quiet discussion could be heard from the room. What about that thing? What thing? You know that thing. We don't need it, but it's not my safe period. We're married now. Oh, right. I'm back. Hearing Leo's voice, Sophie looked up puzzled. How come you're back so early today? Leo smiled. I have something to tell you. What is it? About that apartment we were looking at. We're not buying it for now. Why not? Don't worry yet. Leo explained. Wyatt got back from Riverwood today. I told him about it, and he said he'd lend me another $450,000 so we can get a bigger place right away. Sophie jumped to her feet. Are you serious? I am. The money is already in my account, so we can get a place over 1,000 square feet now. Yeah, we have a lot more options. Why didn't you ask him to lend you more? Then we could get a luxury flat. That wouldn't be right. What I mean is if you're borrowing $450,000, you might as well borrow a little more. You two are closer than real brothers, and it's not like you won't pay him back. Leo smiled gently. I know that's not what you mean, but him offering to lend us money is one thing. Us asking for it is another. We shouldn't take his kindness for granted, even if we are brothers. Yes, you're always right. Leo, you're the nicest guy in the world. It was another bright, sunny day. Even the occasional breeze carried the scent of summer. Compared to winter, summer was a season decidedly favored by men. Waking up at 7:30 in the summer was a world apart from waking up at 7:30 in the winter. There was no shivering, no huddling under the covers for warmth before daring to stretch. Most importantly, summer meant that the streets and campuses were filled with the delightful sight of young women in short skirts and heels. Riverwood, being a small city, was still relatively conservative in its fashion. But in a metropolis like New York, bold attire was commonplace. Wyatt woke up and went through his usual routine. He woke Chloe before heading downstairs, then went to the kitchen to put things on to boil and steam. After breakfast, he was ready to head to the office. Are you coming to the office with me today? Or staying home? I'll come with you. Chloe had a hidden agenda for going to the office with him today. With the marriage certificate secured, she wanted to go and subtly spread the news, cementing her status as the lady boss. I'm just going to grab my bag from upstairs. I'll take the trash out then. Wyatt bagged the kitchen trash, then collected the trash from the living room. Holding a bag in each hand, he walked out to the curb. Just as he tossed the bags into the bin, Holly Chun came running from across the street. She ran right up to him and threw her arms around his legs. "Uncle Wyatt, marry me. I'll be your wife." Wyatt's eyes went wide. "Seriously?" he thought. "I just got married, and you already want to break up me and your Auntie Chloe?" Chloe, who had just stepped out with her bag, heard this too. Before she could say anything, Shelley emerged from her house, backpack in hand, and shouted, "Holly Chun, I'm telling you, even if you get married today, you are still going to school." "No, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to school." The little girl shook her head back and forth, her face a mask of defiance. Wyatt and Chloe both burst out laughing. So, the little rascal just wanted to get married to get out of school. Wyatt patted her head and crouched down. "Holly, I'll teach you a trick to make the school day go by faster. Want to know what it is?" "Yes. Do you know how to draw a star?" Yeah. Every morning before school, draw one line of a star on a piece of paper. By the time you finish the whole star, it'll be the weekend." The little girl blinked, a look of skeptical curiosity on her face. Wyatt didn't have time to play around. He gently squeezed her chubby cheeks and smiled. "Go on now. Uncle has to go to work." "Bye, Uncle Wyatt. Bye." Watching Shelley drag Holly back to her house, Wyatt returned to his yard, pulled the car out, and drove towards the YW office building. Chloe noticed they were going the wrong way and frowned. "Aren't we going to the office?" "I was there yesterday afternoon. Let's check on Michael first today. He's been complaining to me nonstop lately. Says if he keeps working like this, he's going to die young." Chloe laughed. "Isabel told me she feels like a widow these days. She never sees him. That's an exaggeration. She's always dramatic." 20 minutes later, at the office. "Mr. Wyatt, where's Michael?" "Mr. Zhao is in the conference room." "What's the meeting about?" Wyatt asked. "The month is almost over." Mr. Zhao had someone compile this month's website data. Wyatt nodded and turned to Chloe. "Go see if Sophie and Ashley are streaming. I'm going to sit in on the meeting." Chloe gave a little, "Oh," and went to find her roommates at YW. Wyatt walked to the conference room, knocked twice, and went straight in. A dozen pairs of eyes turned to him. He quickly waved his hand. "Don't mind me. You guys continue. I'm just here to listen." Michael tapped the table. "Ignore him. Continue. As of today, we have 9 authors with a monthly income of over $15,000 across the male and female fiction channels. By the end of the month, that number should reach 16. Additionally, the editorial department signed 823 new books this month, nearly double last month's number. In the readership, our app's download numbers have stabilized in the top 5 of all major app stores. Our peak daily active users this month reached 16 million. Good. I have 2 things to say. First, royalties. I'm aware that many platforms delay royalty payments. We have set our payment date for the second Thursday of every month. I want that money to be available for withdrawal the moment the clock strikes midnight. I don't want late payments to become a black mark on our company. No problem. Finance has already worked things out with all the major banks. Second, since we have so many resources now, starting next month, the editorial team can be a bit more selective in their signing process. Let's not sign books that have very little chance of success. Understood. Any other issues? No. Then, Michael was about to say meeting adjourned when Wyatt spoke up. "I have a few more things to add. First, on top of Crimson Reads, we need to develop a new app, Crimson Listens. We'll compile our most popular novels and hire voice actors to do live readings. There are already a few similar audiobook apps on the market, but we have an advantage here. Second, I need the editorial department to cultivate a group of A-list authors. We need them to become household names, like the Stephen Kings or J.K. Rowlings of our platform. A good platform needs writers of that caliber. Since we can't poach them for now, we'll grow our own. Third, I looked at our app. Currently, readers can only comment at the end of a chapter or on the book's main page. I want the programming department to develop paragraph-level comments. We need to increase the interaction between authors and readers. Fourth, crack down on piracy and protect our copyrights. Fifth, launch a premium membership for the app. Members won't see any ads in the text. Have you got all that? The people in the room nodded vigorously. All right, Wyatt said with a smile. Get to work. With a rustle of movement, the dozen or so people stood up and quickly left the room. You bastard, you finally decided to show your face? Mr. Zhao, why so hostile? I've lost 10 pounds this month, for crying out loud. I wasn't this exhausted in high school. It's not like I forced you to do it. You practically begged for the job. Let's go for drinks tonight. Can't. My wife won't let me. Wife? Oh yeah, we got our license a few days ago. What's the rush? Wyatt grinned. You should take Isabel to get a license too. Maybe she'll be nicer to you. You think that would actually work? Of course. The Crimson Reads project was proceeding smoothly. Everything seemed to be moving forward at the expected pace. Wyatt chatted with Michael for half an hour, then spent some time at YW. When Vice President Carla Jones heard Wyatt had arrived, she immediately grabbed Jenna Jiang and found him to report on the company's recent successes. Vivian had given birth, but she was still on maternity leave and couldn't come to work. Until the baby was a year old, Wyatt would hold the highest authority at YW. From Vivian's perspective, it was a good thing the person managing her company was Wyatt. If it were anyone else who had replaced both the VP and the head of operations with their own people, she would have been on edge long ago. Sophie and Ashley were scheduled for the afternoon stream, so after their morning review session, Chloe pulled them away for some girl talk. Wyatt deliberately stayed at the company a bit longer, mooching a meal from the office building's cafeteria. After lunch, he finally returned to see investments. As he and Chloe arrived, they ran into Sam and Abby talking in the hallway. Wyatt teased them. "Finally caught you. Dating on company time. That's a $200 fine for each of you." $200 was nothing to Sam now, but he still pulled out his phone and argued. "It's only 12:45. It's not work time yet." Wyatt turned to Abby. "Abby, make a note of this." Sam is talking back to the boss. "That's another $300 fine." Abby looked down, blushing. "Can you please stop teasing us?" Wyatt laughed and walked into the office. Chloe pointed at Wyatt and said to them, "Don't mind him. He's been acting a little crazy lately." Then she hurried to catch up. The office was the same as always, just a bit more crowded with new hires. The new office building was in its final stages, though, and moving in by late June shouldn't be a problem. Chloe sat with Wyatt in his office for 2 hours, but eventually got bored and went to find Abby to chat. Girls had plenty to talk about, but besides gossip and celebrity news, the most frequent topic was relationships. "When did you and Sam get together?" "It just happened naturally. He's so dense, I never expected him to say any of those cheesy things." "Are you two living together now?" "Not yet. You're still living with Rachel?" "Yeah. If I moved out, she'd have to find a new roommate. And Sam and I haven't even met each other's parents yet, so we're not in a rush." "Is Rachel not dating anyone?" "I remember she's a year older than you." "She met someone over the new year," Abby said with a smile. "A guy from her hometown. He works at the power company and has a master's degree." Abby's tone shifted, but I think they've been having some problems lately. Chloe's gossip radar went off. "What kind of problems?" "The guy wants to get engaged this year, but Rachel feels like they've barely seen each other. They've been long distance the whole time, so she wants to date for another couple of years. Then the guy told her she should quit her job and move back home so they could get to know each other better. But Rachel didn't agree, so now they're in a cold war." Chloe didn't know what to say. She'd never been in a situation like that, so she couldn't offer an opinion. Abby sighed. "So many people get divorced these days. Marriage is such a huge life event for women. If you marry the wrong person, you waste years of your life." Rachel actually really likes the guy. She doesn't know what to do now. "No wonder," Chloe said. "She seemed to be in a bad mood when I came in this afternoon." "Yeah, I don't know how to advise her on something like this." Chloe thought for a moment, then said suddenly, "I'll go ask that dork." "Dork?" It took Abby a second to realize Chloe was talking about Wyatt. She watched as Chloe headed back to the office. Chloe stood with her hands behind her back, a sweet smile on her face. "Busy?" "Yeah. Can I ask you something?" "Go ahead." "So, two people are dating. The guy wants to get serious quickly, but the girl wants to take more time to get to know him. They're in a standoff about it. How do they solve it?" "I don't know," Wyatt said without looking up. "Can you be serious?" "I am busy," Wyatt said, exasperated. "Don't mess around." Chloe snatched the mouse from his hand. "Who's messing around?" she said, pouting. "This is about Rachel. I want you to help her figure out a solution." "Seriously? I'm her boss, not her father. I have to manage this too." "That's right." Wyatt leaned back in his chair and sighed like an old man. "Tell me again. What's the situation with her and her boyfriend?" Chloe recounted the story she had just heard from Abby. Wyatt listened and then chuckled. "That's it?" "Yes." Chloe asked curiously, "Whose fault do you think it is?" "Neither of them." "Neither? Then how do they fix it now?" "It's simple," Wyatt said. "Tell Rachel to have the guy come to New York to see her. Transportation is so convenient now. You can fly abroad in a few hours. Seeing each other more often will naturally make them closer. A month of texting can't compare to a single day spent together. People from small towns, their parents start pressuring them to get married right after graduation. The guy is probably in a hurry because of that kind of pressure. You women might think marriage is the biggest event of your lives, something that requires extreme caution and deliberation. So you often play the passive role in a relationship. But let me give you an analogy, just an analogy. If a man makes $1,000 a month and something he wants costs $10,000 or even $100,000, he'll be willing to save up for it. But what if it costs $1 million or $10 million? He won't be willing to save for it. Why? Because he can't see an end result. Wyatt smiled. Maybe that's not the best analogy, but what I'm trying to say is for a man, if I like you, and you take just one step towards me, I'm willing to run the other 99 steps. But a lot of people won't even take that one step. Chloe seemed to understand. So, telling Rachel to ask the guy to come see her is basically her taking that first step. So smart. I get it. Huh. I'm off to be Rachel's love guru. Chloe laughed and handed the mouse back to Wyatt. He took it, watched her run out of the office, and shook his head with a smile before getting back to work. Back in New York City, life moved at a breakneck pace. In the blink of an eye, June had arrived. Alex, who had grown accustomed to being the boss at Aqueous Gems, finally returned to campus to prepare for his thesis defense alongside Sam, Chris, and Wyatt. Wyatt had given the university a heads-up long ago, stating he had no time to write a thesis, and if that meant he couldn't graduate, he'd just have to drop out. He was a hot commodity everywhere he went now. There was no way the school would let such a prized asset go. This defense was purely a formality. When his student advisor, Ms. Sutton, handed him a completed thesis, Wyatt was genuinely baffled. What's this? Your thesis? Whose? Yours. Mine. That's right. Yours. Wyatt nodded quickly. Right. It's mine. Ms. Sutton gave him a slight smile, her eyes seeming to say, I knew you'd catch on quick. Wyatt wasn't foolish enough to ask where the paper had come from. Like the other students, he spent the time before his defense chatting with his roommates in their dorm. During the last semester of senior year, with everyone off at internships or prepping for grad school exams, the dorms had been mostly empty. Many classmates hadn't seen each other in over half a year. After the defense, they would officially graduate, and everyone was cherishing these final moments. Some dorms were already descending into sentimental sorrow, but the atmosphere in room 201 was exceptionally relaxed. It was hard to be sad when you saw each other every day. Wyatt, Chris, and Sam were all at the same company, and with Wyatt and Chris having bought places in the city, it was a safe bet that Sam would be settling down in NYC as well. As for Alex, he was with Renee now and a permanent fixture in the city. He was a local. After all, seeing each other was just a text away. While other dorms were mournfully singing My Brother, Wyatt was regaling his 3 roommates with the details of his proposal. The trio of goofballs listened, completely captivated. Finally, Chris was the first to give a thumbs up. Badass. Alex and Sam exchanged a look, then chimed in, totally badass. After an hour in the dorm, the 4 of them headed to the academic building for the defense. In the hallway, Wyatt ran into classmates he hadn't seen in ages. The class academic representative, Hannah, spotted him from a distance and called out, Look, it's Boss Wyatt. The hallway fell quiet. As Wyatt walked over, a chorus of his classmates greeted him with the same title. Wyatt didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He held up a hand. Come on, we're classmates. Calling me Boss Wyatt is too formal. Just call me class president, like always. President, we were just saying we should all go out for a big dinner tonight, since we're all going our separate ways tomorrow. You in? In? Of course I'm in. You guys pick the place, it's on me. And if you get drunk, I'll arrange for hotels. The president is generous. So generous. Wyatt held up the thesis in his hand with a grin. The defense is about to start. We should probably all get prepped so nobody messes up. At his reminder, the group quickly buried their noses in their own papers. The defense was a one-by-one process that dragged on for the entire day. Wyatt didn't feel much pressure, but he heard from others that the professors were being pretty tough. When it was his turn, he walked into the room, placed the thesis on the lectern, and then just stared at the panel of professors. They stared back. Finally, one of them broke, unable to take the silence. So how's business? Keeping you busy? Wyatt immediately launched into a laundry list of complaints and triumphs. The entire defense passed without a single mention of his thesis. Wyatt couldn't even remember the title of his own paper. He'd spent the whole time just shooting the breeze. After leaving the room, Wyatt called Cece to tell her he had a class dinner and might be home late, telling her to go to bed early. Cece agreed on the phone, but she was afraid of the dark and knew she'd never fall asleep alone. She immediately called the merry widow, Isabel, and asked her to come over and keep her company. Isabel agreed in a heartbeat. She had nothing better to do anyway. After the call, Cece didn't waste any time. She got up and went to the kitchen, intending to show off her newfound cooking skills for Isabel. She had just finished stir-frying 2 dishes when the doorbell rang. The moment the door opened, Isabel kicked off her shoes and padded barefoot into the living room. She seemed to catch the aroma in the air, sniffing dramatically before asking, What smells so good? I'm cooking. No way, Cece. You know how to cook now. I've known for a while. Well, I'll be. Wyatt really knows how to train someone. The girl who didn't even know how to turn on a stove is now a perfect little homemaker. I have a feeling that's not a compliment. Come on. Let me see what you're making. You're here so early. What about Michael? He's not coming home till late. He's been getting home at 8 or 9 every night. I ask him if he's tired. He says he is. I tell him to quit if he's tired. And he says it's a happy kind of tired. Isn't he just asking for it? Cece laughed. Men's brains aren't wired like ours. Sometimes you just have to go along with them. Oh, you're such an expert. You know it. So, beautiful Cece, are you going to teach me a trick or two later? Teach you what? How to capture a man's heart. Isn't that something you were born knowing? The two of them chatted and laughed as they came out of the kitchen. Just as they were about to eat, Sophie called, asking what Cece was up to. Cece said she was at home, about to eat with Isabel. Sophie quickly said, Leo's back at school for graduation stuff, too. Ashley and I have nothing to do. Do you have time to come pick me up? I'll leave now. Be downstairs in 10 minutes. So, Cece and Isabel headed out again. Isabel drove to the YW Company building, picked up Sophie and Ashley, and then they headed back the way they came. Sophie said excitedly, Leo isn't coming back to the hotel for the next couple of days. Why don't we all just stay at your place tonight? Before Cece could answer, Ashley chimed in, yes. Let's do it. We haven't had a sleepover in forever. Isabel pouted. The lady of the house hasn't agreed yet. In the passenger seat, Cece gave an awkward laugh. If you want to stay, you can have the second floor. And you, Wyatt and I sleep on the third floor. Sophie protested. No, we're all here together for once. Can't you sleep with us? Have you forgotten who took you to load your campus card when we first started freshman year? Ashley added, and who helped you make your bed? Isabel finished. And who took you to Target for the first time? Cece was speechless. Her three roommates demanded indignantly, tell us, Cece, who's more important, Wyatt or the friendship of the four of us? Cece wasn't falling for that. She turned her head to look out the window and huffed. My husband is most important. At the final dinner of his college career, Wyatt, unsurprisingly, got drunk. For years ago, a group of kids had gathered from all corners of the country. For years later, they were about to scatter again. At first, everyone was excitedly talking about the future, but as the night wore on, people started reminiscing about the past 4 years. They remembered the freshman orientation boot camp, the last-minute cramming for final exams, the cafeteria lady in the second dining hall who always gave your plate a little shake to knock some food off, the monetary theory professor who would inevitably start talking about his own love life halfway through a lecture. After 3 rounds of drinks, when everyone was on the verge of being properly drunk, the atmosphere of the dinner shifted. Few people were talking anymore. They just stared blankly, drinking their wine, looking at the people around them. Some of the girls' eyes were already red. Some of the guys pretended to be drunk and slumped over the table, not wanting anyone to see their sadness. A similarly drunk Chris saw this and nudged Wyatt with his elbow. Wyatt shook his dizzy head, glanced around, and then staggered to his feet, glass in hand. Classmates. His voice wasn't loud, but the restaurant was incredibly quiet. The moment he spoke, all eyes turned to him. It was the same as it had been for 4 years. Whenever Wyatt spoke, he instantly became the center of attention. Even though we're all going our separate ways tomorrow, the bond we share as classmates will always connect us. Let's raise our glasses. I wish you all a brilliant future. I wish all of us a bright road ahead. Come on, cheers. Cheers. After finishing his drink, Chris quickly stood up with a grin. I propose that in 5 years, we meet again, right here in this same place for another reunion. And the class president can reimburse everyone for their travel expenses. How about it? Yeah, I like that idea. Wyatt generously replied, done. It's a deal. I'll organize it in the group chat. Don't you dare leave the group, you sons of bitches. Haha, we won't. It's getting late, and everyone's had enough to drink. Let's all head back and get some rest. After you leave campus tomorrow, make sure to check in on the group chat. People got up and left in small groups. Soon, only the 4 guys from room 201 remained. Sam didn't drink, so he was the only sober one at the table. Although Wyatt had had a lot to drink, he was still relatively lucid. He didn't rush to leave. Instead, he went to the cashier, paid the bill, and asked the owner for a pot of hot tea before returning to his seat. Do you think we'll be able to get this many people together again in 5 years? Probably. It'll be tough, Wyatt said, shaking his head. In 5 years, we'll all be 27, right in the thick of being the breadwinners for our families. Who's going to have time to come to some class reunion? I'd say we'd be lucky to get half the people here. Chris also poured himself some tea and then looked at Alex. Alex, how are things with you and your sugar mama? What about it? You're not at the point of talking marriage yet. Alex laughed it off. Soon. Anyway, I'm taking her to meet my parents this year. Chris hadn't even finished his sentence when his phone started ringing. Hello. Paige's voice came through. What time is it? You're not done yet. Chris replied, almost. We're leaving soon. Hurry up. All right, I know. He hadn't even hung up when Wyatt's phone buzzed. It was a text from Cece, with the exact same opening line as Paige's. Wyatt could only type back, "Be home soon." After finishing their calls and texts, Chris called for a rideshare, telling the operator they had 3 cars and to send 2 more drivers. Sam watched this unfold with a smile on his face. Alex asked, "Sam, what are you smiling about?" Sam explained, "I just never thought we'd get to the age where we're out for dinner and someone's calling to tell us to come home." Isabel, Sophie, and Ashley really hadn't left. Leo was still at the university and hadn't come back yet. Ashley was on her own anyway. And Isabel, seeing her 3 roommates together, decided she wanted a good old-fashioned slumber party to air out some of her recent frustrations. The moment Wyatt pushed open the living room door, the 4 women squeezed together on the couch watching a movie, all turned their heads in unison. "What are you guys doing here? What? Not happy to see us?" Wyatt couldn't be bothered to trade barbs with Isabel. He looked down, trying to find his slippers, but the moment he lowered his head, the world spun, and he felt dizzy. Cece quickly got up and ran over. She found a pair of slippers for him in the shoe cabinet and then helped him steady himself, asking with a frown, "How did you get so drunk again?" "It was the last college party. How could I not drink? Do you want me to make you some tea?" "I already had some. I just want to take a shower first." Cece helped Wyatt upstairs, not uttering a single word of complaint. Watching them go, Isabel pursed her lips. Is Cece doing that on purpose? Showing off her lovey-dovey stuff with Wyatt right in front of us? "That's perfectly normal," Ashley said. "You too. Are you really staying here tonight?" "What? Is there a problem?" "I just think it's not a great idea." While the 3 of them were whispering downstairs, up in the 3rd-floor bathroom. "Take your own clothes off. I'll go get your pajamas." "Okay." Those 3 are acting crazy, saying they want to stay here tonight. "I have to go make the beds downstairs later. You get in bed right after your shower. I put the trash can by the bed, so don't you dare throw up on the floor." "I'm not that drunk. And don't just wash your top half. Wash your feet, you goblin." "All right, you can go. If you feel dizzy, sit down while you shower. If you fall, I can't pick you up." Cece tossed that last line over her shoulder and went downstairs. Seeing her take so long, Isabel smirked. "I was starting to think you were giving Wyatt a bath up there. What took you so long?" "You talk too much. Why don't you come up and help me make the beds?" "Make what beds? Weren't you guys staying tonight?" "Nah, we changed our minds," Isabel said with a wave of her hand. "I'll drive them back to the hotel, and then I'm going home." Cece pouted. "You could have said so earlier." Isabel gave her a meaningful smile. "We were just worried we might hear things we're not supposed to hear. That wouldn't be good." "Huh?" Sophie and Ashley couldn't hold it in anymore and burst out laughing. Cece shot the 3 of them a glare and huffed. "You 3 have such dirty minds." On June 14th, Crimson Media paid out its May royalties and simultaneously released a breakdown of the site's earnings for the previous month. A total of 15 authors earned over $10,000, 36 earned over $3,000, and more than 70 had earned over $1,000. This was remarkable, considering Crimson Media had only been live for about 2 months. Most books had fewer than 500,000 words. Only a handful of authors who churned out 10,000 words a day had surpassed the million-word mark. To earn so much in the site's early stages naturally sparked heated discussions among authors from other platforms. On the day the royalties were announced, the number of new author registrations on Crimson Media quintupled. Authors were novel platforms' most precious resource. As Crimson Media's fame grew within the community, it quickly caught the attention of its competitors. At the end of the month, the owner of Soaring Stories personally published a post about Crimson Media on the Writer's Block Forum, a popular online community for authors. The post quickly became a hot topic in the industry. The title read, "Free-to-read novels will upend the online market, causing immense harm to web novel authors." The content of the post tore Crimson Media to shreds, claiming that if Crimson Media succeeds, it will be a tragedy for the entire web novel market. The post was quickly spotted by Crimson Media's editors and, naturally, forwarded to Michael. Michael clicked on it. The comment section was a cesspool of trolls and fanatics. Seeing the post's popularity skyrocket, with discussions popping up in every major author group chat, Michael forwarded it to Wyatt. Wyatt was in a morning meeting with the team from Deadless Robotics, discussing factory plans for mass-producing the AIGO1. He didn't see the post until his lunch break. That afternoon, he drove over to the YW building to talk it over with Michael. "What's the deal with Soaring Stories? They're pretty well known. They offer high royalty splits. Started as a fan fiction site and grew into a full category platform. Besides the old guards like Apex, Traverse, and Royal Road, Soaring Stories probably has the most traffic among the news sites from the last 5 years." This post of his tears us down completely. That last paragraph almost sounds like a declaration of war. It's inevitable. The pie's only so big. We're a free-to-read site without any big-name authors to anchor us at the start, so we're basically poaching traffic from sites like theirs. Wyatt smiled. You're right. The pie's only so big. If we want to get bigger and stronger, we have to take out a few competitors first. Since he's thrown down the gauntlet, we'll accept the challenge. Seeing Wyatt's confident expression, Michael asked, what are you thinking? You want to post a rebuttal and fight them online? Slinging mud in posts is for amateurs. We're going to pull the rug right out from under them. Ow! Wyatt pointed at the computer. Take a look at their site. What's the biggest trend right now? Michael had spent the whole morning researching soaring stories. He answered without hesitation, progression fantasy. 7 of the top 10 books on their trending list are progression fantasy. 2 are anime fanfics, and 1 is a Warlock-style story. Have the operations team announce a writing contest. Target it specifically at the progression fantasy category. Anyone who signs a contract with us gets a $1,000 bonus, plus an extra 20% on their royalty split for 6 months. Damn, Michael had never even considered such a move. Authors on smaller sites had low loyalty to begin with. An offer like this would absolutely siphon off a huge number of progression fantasy writers from soaring stories. You're a devious bastard, Michael said. Good thing I'm not your enemy. If I were just starting out, I'd probably just grit my teeth and take it. But now, I've got 3 or 4 companies under my belt. You think I'm scared of him? Michael started clapping. Boss Wyatt, such big talk. Wyatt just smiled. I'm not sticking around this afternoon. Cece and I are going to visit Lady Boss and see the little one. I haven't been over since she got out of the hospital. Call and ask if my girl wants to go. She's just sitting at home bored anyway. Isabel's mouth has no filter these days. She says the wildest things. When she starts talking dirty, even I feel like a prude. Michael rolled his eyes. You just now figuring that out? Wyatt laughed. You poor bastard. I'll have Cece call her. We'll probably get kept for dinner. I can use the chance to chat with Mr. You. I don't know the first thing about real estate, and I need to get the general process down. The leadership in Riverwood gave me a hard deadline. They want that film studio built in 2 years. Just ask Victor. He's an expert on this stuff. He's already taken over 80% of the Gold River Group's business. Right? If you guys stay for dinner, shoot me a secret text. What for? I'm going to go get a massage, relax a little. My head hurts, my back hurts, my neck hurts. The kind with a happy ending, or the regular kind? The regular kind, obviously. Do you honestly think if I messed around with another woman, that psycho Isabel wouldn't actually castrate me? Huh? Wyatt left the office and drove home. After arranging to meet up with Isabel, he and Cece headed towards the private estates in Greenwich. On the way, Cece asked, should we buy something? It feels weird to go empty-handed. Wyatt thought for a moment and nodded. You're right. So what should we get? They don't need anything. How about we stop by a baby store? See if there's anything the little one can use. Oh, good idea. I'll look for one. Don't drive too fast. I'll text Isabel. Okay. The 3 of them met outside a baby store. Cece and Isabel couldn't wait to go inside. It was a wonderland of tiny things, a dazzling array that was almost overwhelming. Wyatt had been to a baby store once before with Elaine, but this was a first for Cece and Isabel. It was like they had discovered a new world. They were fascinated by everything, even picking up diapers to inspect what they were made of. Wyatt did a lap and then found a chair to sit in. After wandering around for a while, Cece and Isabel came back to Wyatt, unsure what to buy. What's a good gift? Anything is fine. Vivian doesn't need money. This is just a gesture. Wyatt pointed to a traditional rattle in the toy section. How about that? Kids my age all had one of those when we were little. Just a rattle. It's enough. Isabel immediately asked, what about me? Wyatt smiled. An outfit. You can never have too many baby clothes. Okay. The 2 of them went off to browse, spending another half hour inside before they finally emerged. When Wyatt pulled up to the house, only Vivian, Julia Zheng, and the maternity nurse were there. The baby was sleeping. Julia and Vivian were chatting quietly. When they heard the car in the courtyard, they both assumed Victor had come home from work. But when they saw Wyatt, Cece, and Isabel, Vivian immediately stood up to greet them. You should have called first. Cece smiled. I said we should, but he insisted Lady Boss would definitely be home. So it was fine to just come over. Don't just stand there at the door, you kids. Come in, come in. After they entered, they naturally fell into conversation with Julia and Vivian. The baby woke up once, and Vivian went to the bedroom to feed him. Before it got dark, Richard and Victor came home from work together. Richard was delighted to see Wyatt, saying he was getting old and couldn't keep up with the times and needed to learn a thing or 2 from him. He insisted Wyatt stay and have a few drinks with him that night. Wyatt smilingly agreed and then secretly sent a text to Michael. Mission accomplished. You're clear for action. Michael quickly replied, my man, A real estate project? At dinner, Wyatt brought up the film studio, and Victor, you frowned. You're thinking of getting into real estate? As if. The real estate market was at its peak for maybe another 2 years, then it was all downhill. Wyatt shook his head and explained, the local government back home approached me about an investment. We talked it over, and I'm planning to build a film studio. It's my first time handling a project like this, so I wanted to come and get some advice from Mr. You. Initially, Wyatt had called Richard you uncle out of politeness. Now that Victor and Vivian were married, and he had been their matchmaker, their relationship had deepened. The more appropriate Mr. You felt natural. Richard, you laughed. You could just ask Victor about that. He's managed plenty of projects. Victor quickly asked, do you have their support? I mean, are they willing to help you see this project through smoothly? They're very supportive. They said as long as I can get it built within 2 years, they'll give me the green light on all the administrative processes. That's good. Victor nodded. Have you chosen a location? They sent me 2 plots of land. Both are pretty good. Can you help me take a look? Wyatt took out his phone, pulled up the maps of the 2 plots, and handed it to Victor. Victor put down his chopsticks and took the phone. After a quick glance, he made his judgment. Plot 2 is better. Riverwood is developing to the south. This location seems a bit remote now, but in a few years, it'll be a different story. I thought plot 2 was better too. Once you secure the land, you'll need to do the overall project planning and design. You'll select a design firm through a bidding process. Then comes the construction phase. A $100 million project isn't massive, but it's not small either. 2 years is enough time. Honestly, as long as you have support from the top, it's not a difficult thing to do. The hard part about real estate projects is that every single step requires all sorts of permits. Things like the land use planning permit, the land title, and later the construction engineering planning permit, construction permit, project registration, and so on. I spent a lot of money on those for my past projects. Wyatt understood the subtext in Victor's words. He smiled. We're operating as a public-private partnership. They shouldn't give me a hard time on that front. After all, they need this achievement to. I'll send you a document later with notes on what to look out for at each stage. Just follow that process and pay attention to the details, and you should be fine. Great. Wyatt took back his phone and raised his glass. Mister, you, a toast to you, to your health, and to a house full of children and grandchildren. Come on, let's all drink. Vivian had been watching her diet since giving birth and didn't eat much before leaving the table. Cece and Isabel also had small appetites, and seeing Vivian go upstairs to tend to the baby, they followed her. Judy, however, had been listening intently as Wyatt and her brother talked. When they seemed to be finished, she finally asked, Wyatt, let me ask you something. Go ahead. How much money do you actually have? Judy continued. I heard that even Michael Zhao is working for you now. Did you hit the jackpot or something? Wyatt gave an awkward smile. I'm doing okay. How okay is okay? Victor helped him out. Oh, just a net worth of a few billion. A few billion? Oh my God. By the time dinner was over, it was already dark outside. Seeing that Cece and Isabel still hadn't come down from upstairs, Wyatt had no choice but to follow Judy up to get them. As he pushed open the door, the distinct smell of a baby hit him, mostly milky with other unidentifiable notes. The 3 women in the room were gathered around the cradle, quietly watching the baby inside. It's dark out. We should get going. Sure. Seeing Cece make a hushing gesture, Wyatt tiptoed over. The baby in the cradle was awake. When he was first born, he looked like a little old man, but now his face had filled out, fair and tender. He was actually kind of cute. Lady Boss, what did you name him? Vivian smiled. Griffin, you. His grandfather picked it. A fine name. Judy pouted. Do you even know what it means? Of course. Wyatt smiled. The griffin is a mythical creature, a symbol of strength and vigilance. And you represents a legacy. Together, it has a certain grand, powerful feeling. Judy looked surprised. Wow, you know a lot. Naturally. Cece, seeing it was getting late, said goodbye to Vivian and then followed Wyatt and Isabel downstairs. On the way back, you didn't see it, but when we went upstairs, the little guy was just sucking on his pacifier in the cradle with all his might. Was it fun? So much fun. We'll have an even more fun one later. Have you thought of a name for our future baby yet? Nope. Wyatt shrugged. Let's wait until you're actually pregnant before we consider that, don't you think? Cece smiled and nodded, not saying anything more. When they got home that night, Wyatt's dad, David, made a video call. He said the demolition crew had been at the house that day with a dump truck. They'd already hauled away 2 truckloads of debris in one day. In another 2 days, the demolition would be finished, and the official renovation could begin around the 17th or 18th. Wyatt asked, confused, Dad, don't you have to work today? David laughed heartily. I went in this morning, showed my face, and left. Nobody at work bothers me anymore. Thanks to you, kid, my boss is incredibly polite to me now. Wyatt just smiled, not replying. Nearby, his mom, Sarah, seeing that the father and son were about done talking, snatched the phone. She asked what Wyatt and Cece had eaten for dinner. Wyatt said Cece had made some bland, watery noodles that were terrible. Cece heard this and promptly punched him. On the other end of the phone, Sarah saw this and clapped her hands in delight. That's right. You have to hit him. Men won't listen if you don't keep them in line. Wyatt said helplessly, Mom, can you teach her something good for a change? Cece nudged Wyatt aside with her hip and took the phone. Go on, Shu. I'm going to chat with Mom for a bit. Wyatt stretched lazily and grinned. I'm going to go across the street and chat with Carl for a bit. Michael said he hasn't had a day off in almost 2 months. Go on, go on. Wyatt did a little bow like an ancient servant and said in a high-pitched voice, As you wish, my queen. You're ridiculous. After Wyatt left, Cece added her own mother to the video call. As they chatted, the conversation drifted to Vivian's newborn baby. Sarah and Miranda, seeing Cece's excitement, both had the same thought as experienced mothers. They might be becoming a grandmother and a maternal grandmother very soon. June 20th. Wyatt woke up bright and early. After a quick bite at home, he drove straight to the office building. When Wyatt arrived, Chris was already waiting at the entrance. The building's construction had been completed last week, followed by a week of intensive cleaning by professional air quality and janitorial teams. Even the exterior glass was spotless. On the glass curtain walls of the 6th and 7th floors, for large, silver letters were mounted. C. Group. This is our turf from now on. Carter, Michael, and Leo are on their way. We'll wait for them to get here before we go in together. Having all 4 companies move in at once will be too chaotic. We need to schedule it so they move in batches. Will Crimson Media share a floor with Deadless Robotics or Arc Interactive? With Deadless. They don't have many people, and they're about to build a factory anyway, so they'll need to send people to oversee it. Chris nodded. So, Deadless Robotics and Crimson Media on the 4th floor, Arc Interactive on the 5th, see? Investments on the 6th. Besides your office and the conference rooms on the 7th, there are still several other offices. What are your plans for them? Leave them for now. Once the group's total headcount exceeds 1,000, I'm going to establish an internal control and compliance department. It will report only to me and will be responsible for overseeing middle and senior management. Chris chuckled. Like your own personal CIA? Wyatt shrugged. When a company gets big, embezzlement and bribery are inevitable. All the big companies have departments like this. Microsoft has its Office of Legal Compliance. Apple has its business conduct team. I can't directly manage everyone anymore, and you guys are all too nice to do this kind of work. So this department is a must. It's just a matter of when. Hey, don't underestimate me. Wyatt laughed. If the company needed to do layoffs and I asked you to handle the termination meetings and try to minimize the company's losses, would you be up for it? Chris was speechless. Wyatt explained, in the beginning, it was all our own people and we could treat everyone like friends. But as the company grows, that approach doesn't work anymore. You have to learn when to play good cop and when to play bad cop. And sometimes you even have to be the clown. In that respect, Michael is better than Carter, who's better than you, who's better than Leo. Speak of the devil. Just as he finished, 3 cars pulled up one after another. Michael got out first, looked up at the office building, his heart filled with emotion. Leo hadn't been here in a while either and seemed excited to see the finished building. Carter Lou was beaming, looking as though all his hard work had finally paid off. Let's go. Let's go up together. Yeah. The 5 of them went into the building together and spent 2 hours touring it from top to bottom. Chris had been in charge of many of the building's logistics. When they reached the 7th floor, he said, at the end of last year, a cafeteria contractor approached me. I looked into it, and there are 2 ways to do it. One is for the company to hire its own staff and create a cafeteria department, like a mess hall in the Army. The other is to contract it out. Not only would we not have to pay, but the contractor would actually pay us a fee. Wyatt immediately said, if we go with the latter, then we don't have control over the food pricing. I don't want it to be more expensive to eat in the cafeteria than outside. I think we should hire our own team of chefs, keep them on our payroll, and make the prices as low as possible. Michael chimed in, I have a friend whose family owns a restaurant chain. He probably knows a lot of good chefs. Should I contact him? Yeah, Wyatt nodded. Today is the 20th. Starting on the 25th, investments will move in first. On the 26th, Crimson Media. The 27th, Arc Interactive. And the 28th, Deadless Robotics. The cafeteria needs to be up and running by the 1st of next month at the absolute latest. I can only say I'll do my best. Then that's the plan. You guys can bring your administrative staff over in the next few days to arrange the follow-up. When it's time to move, I'll get a few large trucks to park at the entrance. We'll try to get it all done in one trip. Okay. After Cece relayed Wyatt's words to Rachel Yuan, Rachel took the initiative to chat with her blind date. They had now ended their Cold War, and the frequency of their chats was even higher than before. This morning, after finishing her work, Rachel started a conversation with him again. At an opportune moment, she asked, "If I hadn't reached out to you last time, would we have just drifted apart like that?" She waited a long time before he finally replied with a smile emoji. "Most likely, yes." Rachel pressed, "Why? You were ignoring me, weren't you? I actually really wanted to talk to you, but you seemed so indifferent I didn't know what to say. It's not that I was afraid of embarrassing myself. I was mostly afraid of making you uncomfortable." Rachel stared at the message, lost in thought for a long time. As it happened, Wyatt and Chris returned just then. Seeing Rachel staring blankly at her desk, Wyatt picked up a file from the counter and gently tapped her on the head with it, scolding her. "You're at work. What are you daydreaming about now?" Rachel snapped back to reality and gave an embarrassed smile. Chris also joked, "It must be that civil servant from the power company again. Rachel, you have the best job in the company, getting paid to fall in love." "I do not." Rachel stomped her foot and stood up from her chair. "Still denying it? Dare to show us your phone." "No way." All right, stop teasing her," Wyatt said. "Rachel, can you ask Fajan to come to my office? I need to talk to her about something." "On it." Seeing Wyatt and Chris leave, Rachel, her heart still pounding, picked up her phone and looked at the message again. Perhaps people are prone to impulsive actions when they're nervous, because she quickly typed out a reply. It was only 3 words. "I was wrong." Perhaps Rachel didn't realize that sometimes those 3 words carry more weight than "I love you." For the next week, the companies moved one by one from the Vibe building and the temporary YW offices into the C Group Tower. The once cramped offices suddenly felt spacious. Every employee who walked in from outside had a smile on their face. It felt like graduating from high school and stepping onto a college campus for the first time. Standing in his office, he could casually turn his head and see the blue sky and lazy white clouds outside the window. The season had long since shifted from late spring to early summer. Even though the building wasn't a skyscraper, as Wyatt stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows of his 7th-floor office, looking out at the towering buildings and the endless stream of traffic, he still felt a sense of having reached the summit, looking down on all the smaller peaks. "Wyatt, what are you staring at? They're all in the main conference room, waiting for you to start the meeting." "Leo, how old are you this year?" "Aren't we the same?" Wyatt asked, knowing the answer. When he heard it, a small smile played on his lips. "It's amazing. We're only 22. Leo just thought Wyatt was overjoyed and was venting his emotions with such a sentimental remark. He pulled Wyatt into the main conference room, kicking off the first management meeting of the C Group. The meeting lasted for an hour. Afterwards, Michael stayed behind, gloating about soaring stories. The moment our progression fantasy writing contest went live, they lost a ton of authors. "I heard from our editor-in-chief that their trending list revenue has plummeted. Before, you needed a daily income of over $150 to make the list. Now, $80 will get you on." Wyatt smiled. "Has their boss made any moves?" "Not yet, but he's definitely cursed your ancestors 18 generations back in his head. Soaring Stories never had high author loyalty to begin with. This move must have seriously wounded them." "What's the progress on the short-form dramas and the audiobooks?" Michael had been keeping a close eye on these 2 projects. He replied quickly, "The short-form drama app is basically done and is in the testing phase. We already have over 20 completed dramas ready to go live with the app. As for the audiobooks, that'll probably take a little more time." Wyatt nodded. "Then let's launch the short-form dramas first. Remember to create some official accounts on social media platforms and post a few episodes to drive traffic." "Of course. Why didn't I think of using short videos to promote the short dramas?" "Wyatt, you're a damn genius." Wyatt left the conference room, but didn't go back to his own office. Instead, he went downstairs and found David, who was busy at his desk. David had joined the company at the same time as Frank, but their situations were now worlds apart. David had become a key member of the investment department, while Frank, after being pushed out of the company, hadn't been picked up by Brandon. Knowing it would be hard to find another suitable job in the industry, Frank had gone home to study for the civil service exams and was still living off his parents. Wyatt got straight to the point. "David, I need you to hand over your current work in the next couple of days. I have a new assignment for you." "A new assignment?" "Yes. The film studio project needs someone on the ground to oversee it. I'm sending you there first." "Me?" David was astounded. The film studio was a $100 million project. He never imagined Wyatt would put him in charge. Wyatt had been observing him for a long time. David's learning and working abilities might not be the best, but he was incredibly steady. He never sought the spotlight, just diligently did his work. Though he wasn't old, he had a mature and stable presence. Wyatt had considered it for a while before deciding to send him to Riverwood. That's right, but let me give you a heads up. When you get there, a lot of people will try to pull strings, offer you money and gifts, maybe even take you to nightclubs, try to set you up with women. You'd better hold your ground. Once a real estate project like this starts, the business in the local red light districts always picks up. Once you start down that road, it can be hard to stop. You know what I mean? Can I handle it alone? I'm just sending you there to keep an eye on things for now. I'll send other people over in a week at most. Okay. After a full day at the company, Wyatt came home that evening. The moment he pushed the door open, he saw a pink suitcase by the entrance. A bad feeling crept over him. Sure enough, a second later, Mandy emerged from the kitchen, greeting Wyatt with a cheerful grin. Cousin. Wyatt remained silent, his face clearly saying, "Your cousin does not want to talk to you." Mandy's arrival was a surprise attack. Wyatt had no prior knowledge. But since she was already here, he couldn't say much. After dinner, Cece took Mandy upstairs. 15 minutes later, Cece came back down and asked in a low voice, "Is your cousin staying with us for the whole summer?" "Impossible," Wyatt said sternly. "She can stay for 2 days, max. Then I'm kicking her out to a hotel. The company has a cafeteria now. She can fend for herself." "Isn't that a bit harsh?" "It's fine. I'll be the bad guy." Cece just said, "Oh," and didn't press the issue. Meanwhile, upstairs, Mandy got a call from her mother. "Hello, Mom. Are you out of school for the summer?" "Yeah. So where are you now?" "I'm at my cousin's house." "You little brat. You're not planning on coming home for the summer again, are you?" "What's there to do at home? I'll see if I can make it back before school starts." "Let me tell you, your cousin and his wife are married now. They're a young couple having their private time at home. Don't go bothering them. Either you come home, or you get a hotel." I know. I'm just staying one night. I'll look for a hotel tomorrow." The person on the other end of the line changed. It was Wyatt's uncle. "Mandy, if you're not coming home for the summer, what are you doing in New York?" "I'm working. If you need money, Dad will give it to you. Please just come home." "No. Are you dating someone out there?" "No." "Really? Are you sure?" "Dad, you're so annoying. I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm going to take a shower." Hearing the phone hang up, her dad put his phone down, his heart sinking. He mumbled, "I have a bad feeling about this." His wife, Wyatt's aunt, chuckled. "Sooner or later, she's going to get married and leave. When your daughter gets married, I'll be able to live 2 years longer." "There you go with that nonsense again." Her husband sighed and added, "When your daughter comes back, you need to have a talk with her. Tell her not to marry someone far away. It'll be inconvenient for her to come home." Mandy took a shower and lay down in bed early. She picked up her phone and took the initiative to send a text to Jay. "See, Mandy, are you done with all your school stuff?" 2 minutes later. See, almost. Mandy, so when are you coming home?" See, probably the day after tomorrow." "Mandy, I'll be waiting for you." See, where are you now? At home? Or still in the dorm?" "Mandy, the dorm's closed for the summer. I came to my cousin's place." See, oh, hang on a sec. I'm on my way back to my dorm. I'll message you when I get there." "Mandy, okay, half an hour later." See, I'm back. What are you up to?" "Mandy, I'm in bed, bored out of my mind, playing on my phone." "Mandy, wish you were here." "Mandy, then I wouldn't have to play with my phone." "Mandy, I could play with you instead." See, you saying that? See, makes me not want to come back to NYC anymore. Mandy /bloody knife / bloody knife / bloody knife / Mandy. "But Dad, if you don't come back." Everyone loves differently. Some are reserved, others are bold. Mandy was, without a doubt, the latter. The next day, Wyatt arranged for her to work in the administrative department as Fajon's assistant. Ashley, hearing about this from someone, went to Wyatt and asked if Mandy wanted to stay with her, since she was bored being alone at the hotel. Wyatt readily agreed, and Mandy quickly accepted the arrangement. That evening, she moved into the hotel with Ashley. Crimson Media's short-form dramas officially launched on July 5th, along with 30 original titles produced in-house. On the first day, it didn't make much of a splash. But once Crimson Media integrated the drama channel into its main app, allowing users to watch directly from there, the download numbers for the short-form drama app began to climb daily. With the speed of internet transmission, Crimson Media's dramas were like a string of firecrackers, igniting almost instantly and causing a considerable stir in the entertainment world. Several dramas surpassed 10 million views within a week. This short, punchy, and addictive video format immediately captured the hearts of internet users. The concept of short-form drama became an overnight sensation. And Crimson Media, as the leader of this new trend, naturally skyrocketed to become a hot app. Nearly every major internet company took notice of this burgeoning industry. The Crimson Media office was in a state of chaotic excitement. We're getting user complaints that the app keeps freezing when they try to watch on fast forward. What's going on? We're fixing it now. It should be resolved soon. Everyone, drop what you're doing. We're having a quick meeting in the conference room. Boss, can we increase this week's signing quota again? There are too many books. The old quota isn't nearly enough. I'll have to ask Mr. Zhao. Where is Mr. Zhao? He's not in yet. When Wyatt arrived at the company, he saw people rushing around the office. He spotted the editor-in-chief standing there with a frown and walked over. What's wrong? Since the short-form dramas launched, the number of books on the site has exploded. To control quality, we used to set a fixed weekly signing quota for each category, prioritizing good quality books. But now there are too many books and the quota isn't enough. Then increase the quota. As long as the quality is decent, you can sign them. Okay, is Mr. Zhao not in yet? No, the editor-in-chief explained. Mr. Zhao didn't leave until 10:30 last night. Wyatt nodded and sent a text to Michael. Wyatt, where the hell are you? It's 9:30. Why aren't you at the office yet? Michael, coming. Michael, she's on her period. Michael, spent all morning coddling her. Now I'm on my way. Wyatt, seriously? Are we that pathetic? Michael, crap. Michael, shoes. I was cleaning her shoes. Michael, this stupid autocorrect. Wyatt rolled his eyes, pocketed his phone, and did a lap around the Crimson Media office. He was about to take the elevator upstairs when the doors opened to reveal J.C. and Mandy, who had just arrived. Since it was past the start of the workday, the two of them were alone in the elevator. The moment they saw Wyatt, the laughing pair instantly straightened up, wiped the smiles off their faces, and created some distance between them. Wyatt looked at Mandy, then at J.C. The latter gave an awkward greeting. Mr. Wyatt. Wyatt nodded and stepped into the elevator. When did you get back? Just yesterday. You'll be a senior after the summer. Are you planning to take the civil service exams? I'll probably aim for a fellowship program. Wyatt nodded with a smile. That makes sense. You have the connections for it. It's tough to get a government job these days. It's not like in ancient times. No essays or aptitude tests. You just had to swear a blood oath to a king, and you were in. G.C. Stifle a laugh. Mandy stomped her foot lightly beside them. Cousin, what are you saying? I'm standing right here. Wyatt rolled his eyes, thinking, now you decide to act demure. J.C. had interned at the company last summer. After leading them into the office, Wyatt had someone process his internship paperwork and then pulled J.C. aside for a private chat. Wyatt mainly asked about his and Mandy's current relationship status and their plans for the future. To his surprise, J.C. had already decided to introduce Mandy to his family soon. Wyatt hadn't expected that. Wyatt had thought someone with J.C. as personality would want to date for a while longer. Wyatt had clearly underestimated Mandy's ability to charm men. Cece hadn't been coming to the office with Wyatt for the past few days. Her sleep quality had improved, and she'd been sleeping in. Wyatt didn't have the heart to wake her. Every day before he left, he'd stick a note on the fridge telling her what to eat for breakfast and to rest at home. Today, Cece didn't wake up until 9. She yawned as she came downstairs, habitually checked the note, and then put the breakfast Wyatt had prepared for her in the steamer. She sat at the dining table, spacing out for 5 minutes. Then she got up and took out the steamed food. Today's breakfast was a glass of hot milk, 3 pan-fried buns, and an egg. Cece peeled the egg first and chewed it slowly, taking several minutes to finish it. If it had been Wyatt, he would have popped the whole thing in his mouth in one go. For some reason, after finishing the egg, Cece already felt a bit full. She took a sip of hot milk and saw the 3 pan-fried buns on her plate. Thinking it would be a waste not to eat them, she picked one up with her chopsticks and took a small bite. Ugh! She had only chewed twice when the flavor of the meat filling spread through her mouth, and a wave of nausea washed over her. She rushed to the trash can and spat out everything in her mouth, but the sickening feeling lingered. She drank a couple of sips of milk to push the feeling down. She sat back down in her chair, staring into space again. She thought to herself, what's going on with me lately? I'm always sleepy, and I get nauseous easily when I eat. Cece pondered for a moment, and her dazed eyes suddenly lit up. She quickly took out her phone, checked the date, and her heart began to pound. My period is late. Could it be? Cece shot up from her chair, wanting to call Wyatt. But she hesitated, and instead, she dialed Isabel's number. Hello? Why are you calling me so early in the morning? It's almost 10. I'm on my period. My stomach was killing me half the night. Mine hasn't come. Huh? Aren't we usually just a day or two apart? Can you drive over? And on the way, could you stop by a pharmacy and get me a pregnancy test? Oh my God. Are you serious? Isabel's voice shot up, becoming sharp and high-pitched. Cece said awkwardly, I'm not sure. That's why I haven't called Wyatt yet. Isabel said excitedly, wait for me, wait for me. I'm on my way. I'll be waiting. Isabel hung up and rushed over from her place. The moment she arrived, she handed Cece the pregnancy test she'd bought on the way. Cece took it and hurried into the bathroom. Less than 5 minutes later, the bathroom door opened. Isabel walked over excitedly. Why aren't you saying anything? Is it positive or not? Cece handed the test to Isabel, who took it and glanced down. Her eyes were immediately drawn to the two distinct lines. It's real. You know your own body best. While waiting for Isabel, Cece already had a feeling it was true. So when she saw the result, she wasn't overly excited, just a bit dazed and at a loss. She never thought that so soon after graduating from student to wife, she would become an expectant mother. What are you spacing out for? Call Wyatt. Oh. Cece picked up her phone and dialed Wyatt's number. When he answered with a hello, she asked foolishly, Are you busy? Wyatt laughed. Just tell me what's up. Don't worry about me. Cece hemmed and hawed for a moment. The impatient Isabel couldn't take it anymore, snatched the phone, and declared, Wyatt, Cece's pregnant. You gonna be a dad? What? Isabel heard the sound of a chair scraping on the other end. She quickly added, Anyway, there are 2 lines on the test. If you want to be extra sure, you could go to the hospital. I. Wyatt, for once, was stuttering. He stammered, I'm coming home right now. Wait for me there. Don't go anywhere. Wyatt hung up. Seeing Abby Zhang sitting outside his office, he said in a frantic rush, Postpone this afternoon's meeting to tomorrow. Oh. Abby saw how anxious he was and didn't ask any questions. Down in the parking garage, Wyatt drove home like a madman. He got out of the car and rushed into the living room. Seeing Cece on the sofa, he didn't even bother to change his shoes before running over. He grabbed the pregnancy test from the coffee table, glanced at it, and slapped his own thigh in sheer joy, letting out a yelp of pain and a burst of laughter at the same time. Cece was amused. All her unknown fears instantly dissipated. She took the initiative and asked, We probably don't need to go to the hospital, right? I just looked it up online. It says they're over 90% accurate. Wyatt nodded. Combined with you being so sleepy and nauseous lately, I'd say it's 100%. I have to tell my mom and your mom first. Tell them now. They'll be overjoyed. Cece nodded, leaving the decision to Wyatt. Wyatt called his mom, Sarah, first. She and David were at the new house supervising the renovation. She was surprised to get a call from Wyatt on a work day, thinking he'd be busy at 10 in the morning. Hello, sweetie. Mom, I have something to tell you. Cece's pregnant. Huh? What did you say? It was noisy with the construction. Sarah couldn't hear clearly. She stepped outside and asked again louder. Wyatt smiled. Cece's pregnant. Really? You're not kidding me, are you, you little rascal? Mom, I'm your son. Would I lie to you about this? Sarah was so excited she didn't know what to say. She repeated good, good, good 3 times and then launched into a long list of pregnancy do's and don'ts. No heavy lifting, no strenuous exercise, which foods to avoid, no sex, and on and on. Hearing his mom was prepared to lecture indefinitely, Wyatt quickly cut her off. Mom, stop rambling. I still have to call my mother-in-law. Only then did Sarah relent. Wyatt quickly found Miranda's contact in his phone. Miranda was also at work, but it happened to be a quiet moment. Seeing Wyatt's call, she answered right away. Hello, Mom. Why are you calling at this hour? Cece's pregnant. I'm calling to share the good news. Miranda paused. It was several seconds before she replied. I'll come over this weekend. Take good care of Cece. Don't worry. As for other relatives, Wyatt didn't plan on notifying them. He knew Sarah would spread the news. David and Charles, as the third wave to hear the news, had different reactions. David was relatively calm, just smiling and saying, I'm going to be a grandpa. But when Charles heard, he lost all motivation to work for the rest of the day. If it weren't for the distance and his own commitments, he would have rushed over that very day. Isabel didn't stay for lunch. After Wyatt finished his 2 calls, he had swept Cece into his arms. Isabel, sitting nearby, felt like a blindingly bright third wheel, so she left on her own at 11. She went home and immediately told Sophie and Ashley. The 3 of them exploded in their group chat. In the blink of an eye, the message count hit 99 plus. After Isabel left, Wyatt started planning at home. It was mid-July. If they waited until the end of the year to get married, her belly would be big. The plan had to be moved up. The fall break weekend in October seemed just right. At 3 months, the bump wouldn't be too obvious. But choosing between Riverwood and New York City for the wedding was a dilemma. Riverwood was their hometown, but all their friends were in NYC. If they had the wedding in Riverwood, not many of their NYC friends would be able to make it, especially since the holiday was a peak travel time. But if they had it in NYC, it wouldn't align with hometown customs, and he suspected both sets of parents would have opinions. Wyatt asked for Cecil's suggestion, but she just said, "I'm not dealing with any of it. You arrange everything." Wyatt felt a headache coming on. That afternoon, Wyatt didn't go to the office either. After taking a nap with Cece, they went to the supermarket together. On their way back, they ran into Shelley Chun, who was picking up her daughter from school. Shelley asked in surprise, "No work today?" Wyatt casually mentioned that Cece was pregnant. When Shelley got home, she quickly brought over a copy of What to Expect When You're Expecting, saying it was a very interesting book and that both Wyatt and Cece should read it. So, after dinner, the two of them sat together, unusually, and read. Cece read the book from Shelley, while Wyatt flipped through a dictionary, trying to figure out a name for the baby. How about Ethan? E-T-H-E-N? No, too much of a main character name. 4-syllable names are popular now. How about we do one of those? Wyatt Jr. Too cliché. Then how about a shorter name? Max. Leo. Too simple. Why is naming a baby so hard? Let's just pick something random. The first one will be Wyatt Sr. The second will be Wyatt Jr. You sound like a barbarian. Get out of here. If you can't come up with a name, I'll let your dad and my dad do it. No rush, no rush. We still have plenty of time. You goofball. The next day, Wyatt still took Cece to the hospital for a basic checkup. He had wanted to stay home, but the company was incredibly busy. The film studio project was just getting started. Ink Live was preparing for its IPO in August. Arc Interactive was restructuring its tech department into several game studios. Deadless Robotics had leased a factory and was purchasing 8-figure equipment, and Crimson Media was, to put it mildly, swamped. In one morning, Wyatt received calls from 3 or 4 different companies and had a pile of unread messages. Cece had noticed. So, on the way home from the hospital, she told Wyatt to just drive to the office. Sure enough, the moment Wyatt stepped back into his office, Abby Zhang followed him in with a huge stack of documents that needed his signature, which she then sorted into 3 piles based on urgency. "Abby, can you go down to the second floor and get some fruit for me?" "Not too much." On it, Wyatt started tackling the documents. Time flew by. For the next few days, they went to work and came home together. It wasn't until Saturday morning, when Miranda arrived in New York, that Wyatt finally got a break. The moment Cece saw Miranda, she stood up to greet her. After calling out Mom, she pulled her into a hug. Leaning against Miranda's shoulder, Cece felt an extra layer of support. All right, you're about to become a mother yourself. Don't act like a little kid anymore." "Oh, Mom." Cece wouldn't let go. Wyatt yawned from the side. He'd only gotten 4 or 5 hours of sleep last night before getting up early to pick up Miranda from the station. Seeing the mother-daughter duo like this, he smiled and said, "I'm going upstairs to catch up on some sleep," then headed for the 3rd floor. Miranda pulled Cece down to sit on the sofa, and they talked about pregnancy for a long time. Seeing Cece just nodding and humming in response, Miranda changed the subject with a smile. "On the way here, Wyatt told me he plans to have the wedding with you during the fall holiday in October. I think that's the perfect time. The baby bump usually starts showing around 4 months. If you don't do it then, you'll have to wait until after the baby is born." "He didn't tell me. What do you think?" "I'm fine with whatever." Miranda said, "I think it's better to do it in October. You've already got the license, anyway." "Okay. You need to start learning to make your own decisions about things. Don't wait for others to decide for you. I talked to your mother-in-law on the phone last night. She asked me to ask you if you want her to come to New York to take care of you two now, or wait a few more months." Cece was still conflicted. The dilemma was this. If it was just the two of them, Wyatt wouldn't be able to handle everything alone. He had to manage the company, do the housework, and take care of her. But if Sarah came over, she was afraid she wouldn't get used to it. For example, if Wyatt was cooking, she could openly say if something didn't taste good. But if it was Sarah, she would definitely be too embarrassed to say anything. Miranda glanced at her daughter and quickly made the decision for her. "Then have your mother-in-law come over after the wedding. You can take care of yourself for now, but later on, you'll definitely need an extra person in the house. Otherwise, Wyatt will be overwhelmed." Cece nodded in agreement. Seeing that Wyatt still hadn't come down, Miranda lowered her voice and gave one last, serious piece of advice. "You remember this. For the first 3 months and the last 3 months of pregnancy, you absolutely cannot have sex." "I know." Miranda smiled and got up to see what was in the fridge, preparing to make lunch. Cece hugged a pillow, muttering to herself, "So what about the 4 months in between?" As the first one to know about Cece's pregnancy, Isabel also felt it was time she had a child. So, during lunch, she brought it up with Michael in a serious tone. Michael, let's have a baby too. Ahem. Michael, who was halfway through his meal, nearly choked. He wiped his mouth. You can't just want a baby because you see Cece is pregnant. Didn't we agree to have kids after we get married? I changed my mind. Is that not allowed? Michael was speechless. Fine. Let's say you have a child now. Can you take care of it by yourself? In other words, are you ready to be a mother? Isabel argued illogically. What mother is ever truly ready for her first child? If I can't take care of it alone, isn't there still your mom? She told me a long time ago she wants a grandchild. Besides what? Besides, you're already 27, 28. I'm afraid in another 2 years, you might become infertile. Michael exploded. What the hell are you talking about? Can you let me eat a meal in peace? It's the middle of the day. Why are you saying such things? Isabel laid down the law. I don't care. Starting today, we're both going to start trying. I heard that pregnancy secret recipe Wyatt got for Vivian was really effective. I'll ask him for it later. You have the nerve to ask? I'm not asking him. I'll ask Cece. Michael sighed and picked up his chopsticks to continue eating. Isabel paused for a moment, then added, also, to prevent our relationship from getting stale, I propose that starting next Monday, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'll be your queen. On Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, I'll be your bratty little sister. And on Sundays, we'll be an intimate couple. Role-playing? Isabel smiled. What do you think? You like it, don't you? No, we can change it to something else. On Sundays, we're still a couple. On Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, I'll be your mother. And on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'll be your daughter. Michael immediately shook his head. I refuse. Isabel slammed her hand on the table, speaking in a domineering tone. Refusal is futile. It's decided. Today is Saturday, so I'm your mother. If you dare refuse, I will twist your head off. Michael was speechless, thinking to himself, great. I got a girlfriend, and she came with a free mom. Door. Cece knelt on the bed, whispering gently in Wyatt's ear. When she saw him stir, she said, It's 12 o'clock. Time to go downstairs and eat. Wyatt opened his eyes and yawned. That was a good nap. Hurry up and get down there. The food is already on the table. What's the rush? Give me a kiss before I go down. Don't mess around. My mom is waiting downstairs. Wyatt started acting like a child. He turned on his side and huffed. If you don't give me a kiss, I'm not going down. Cece sighed, her face clearly saying, I really don't know what to do with you. Finally, she walked to the side of the bed, leaned over, and gently pressed her lips to his face. Only then did the man in question get up, stand on the bed, strike a Superman pose, and shamelessly declare, Another day full of energy. Ah, you're such a big idiot. Miranda stayed for 2 days before returning to Philadelphia. Fortunately, Philadelphia was close, so she could come over any weekend. On Monday, Wyatt had just arrived at the company when he heard some good news. The short-form drama directed by Carl Chun, Back to the 80s, Stepmom Superstar, had trended on social media last night. The show's view count had already surpassed 30 million, higher than many television series. Crimson Media's short-form dramas had completely broken into the mainstream. Michael was expanding the drama team to speed up the release schedule. Wyatt left Cece at the office and went with Carter Liu that morning to the newly leased factory. They were still in the equipment installation phase, and the factory hadn't started hiring yet. Carter's plan was that if the AIGO1 was to be released around the new year, some processes would have to be outsourced. He had initially wanted to use Foxconn, but their production volume was too small, and Foxconn wasn't interested. Carter had since contacted several other electronics manufacturing plants and was now in the process of negotiating prices. Wyatt didn't understand any of the mechanical stuff, so he did a quick tour of the factory and headed back. At lunch in the cafeteria, Wyatt and Cece had just sat down when Mandy forcibly dragged Jay. See, over. Cousin, can I ask you something? Spit it out. Can Jay? See, and I leave work early this afternoon. I'm going to have dinner with his mom. Wyatt looked up at Jay. See, seeing him nod in confirmation, Wyatt agreed. Okay, remember to listen more and talk less. The more you say, the more you can say wrong. I know. Cece saw the smile on Mandy's face and thought to herself, people really are all different. If it were me, just the thought of having dinner with my boyfriend's mother would make it impossible to smile right now. Wyatt seemed to be able to read her mind. After Mandy dragged Jay, see, away, he turned to Cece and smiled. She's just a carefree person. I hope she can get through this evening with Jay. See, S mom. Cece said, your cousin is a bit like Isabel. Not even close. Wyatt shook his head. Mandy says whatever is on her mind, but she doesn't have a manipulative bone in her body. Isabel is different. Don't listen to Michael complain about all of Isabel's faults. That's just a sign of affection. If someone truly dislikes another person, you won't hear them say a single word about them. Oh, Cece said, enlightened. I see. Wyatt smiled. Stop talking and eat. Technically, you should be eating for two now. You eat for me. I wish I could. C. had told his family the night before that he had a girlfriend. He hadn't expected his mother to immediately arrange for this dinner tonight. Fortunately, his father was caught up with work and couldn't make it, so tonight's dinner would, barring any surprises, just be the three of them: himself, Mandy, and his mother. C's mother, Caroline Jiang, was from A.D.C. political family. If you traced her lineage back far enough, you could find a few high-ranking officials. She came from a bona fide, scholarly, old-money family. Caroline and Ethan Jiang had only one son, J.C. In the 90s, the fewer, better births for a happy life mentality was prevalent, and many urban families had only one child. To this day, both parents were very satisfied with J.C. He had followed the perfect script since he was young. From first grade, he was often top of his class, and he never even had a rebellious phase in middle school. He was the perfect son in the eyes of the older generation. But this also meant that his parents had particularly high expectations for his other half. It wasn't about matching social status, but at the very least, the woman had to be exceptional. G.C. had actually hinted at this several times, but the carefree Mandy didn't seem to catch on. Not only was she not nervous, but she even seemed a little excited. G.C. could only hope that tonight's dinner would go smoothly. At 5 in the afternoon, J.C. packed up his things and left the company with Mandy. In the underground parking garage, Mandy skipped along behind him towards a car. Listen to your cousin's advice later. Just listen more and talk less. If my mom asks you something and you don't know how to answer, just give me a look. Is your mom hard to talk to? No, she's very easy to talk to. Then what are you afraid of? Well, others are others, but you're different. My parents have had high expectations for me since I was little, so I've never dared to slack off. Since their expectations for me are high, their expectations for you will naturally be high too. After hearing this, a hint of nervousness finally appeared in Mandy's eyes. G.C. had made his point. He quickly led Mandy to the restaurant he'd booked. Half an hour later, they got out of the car. At the entrance, J.C. sent a text to his mother. After receiving the private room number, he took Mandy's hand and walked inside. When he pushed open the door to the private room and saw two people inside, his brow furrowed slightly. In the room, besides Caroline Jiang, was another woman of about the same age. Her name was Kathy Chun, and she was J.C.'s aunt, Caroline's younger sister. Though they were sisters, their personalities were completely different. 22, 23 if you count that Chinese thing. But J.C.'s aunt was another story. Before she got married, her family often said she was lazy. Later, thanks to the family's influence, she married into another family in the political sphere. But her reputation with her in-laws was terrible. She refused to work, spending her days playing mahjong and shopping, and everything she wore was designer. Families in politics all wanted to keep a low profile, but J.C.'s aunt was different. Everything she ate, wore, and used was high-end. Even J.C.'s father had warned her, if you keep this up, you'll ruin your entire family sooner or later. A public servant's salary wasn't high, and Kathy didn't work. The source of her designer bags and cosmetics was self-evident, but Kathy seemed not to care at all, continuing to do as she pleased. G.C.'s father barely spoke to her anymore, but she was, after all, Caroline's sister. Caroline couldn't treat her the same way her husband did. Today, Kathy had shown up at her sister's house unannounced. When she heard that J.C. had a girlfriend, she insisted on coming along. Caroline couldn't refuse her and had to agree. And so this was the scene now. G.C. led Mandy into the room and pointed to Caroline with a smile. This is my mother. Mom, this is Mandy. Hello, Annie. No matter how big Mandy's heart was, she could sense the elegance radiating from Caroline. She didn't dare be disrespectful and politely greeted her. G.C.'s smile faded slightly as he pointed to the woman next to her. This is my aunt. Mandy, unaware of the family situation, just politely greeted her as well. Hello, Aunt. Kathy immediately nudged Caroline. Look, the girls these days are getting prettier and prettier. They just all kind of look the same. Not like in our time. We didn't have any makeup, at most some hand cream in the winter. Caroline ignored her and simply pointed to the seat next to her with a smile. Mandy, come sit. Only then did Mandy smile and step forward to sit next to Caroline. G.C. went to the door and called for the waiter to start ordering. In fact, Caroline had already told J.C. last night that today's meal was mainly about getting to know each other. The food was secondary. But J.C. calling the waiter so quickly was a clear sign that he wanted to end this dinner as fast as possible. The reason was simple. There was an extra person at this dinner, an unstable element. Caroline knew her son well. She understood his intentions, but didn't point them out. She had let Kathy come today, in part, to see if Mandy could handle this kind of situation. After all, J.C. was destined for a career in public service, and he would have to deal with all sorts of people. If Mandy married into the family, she naturally wouldn't be able to avoid it. Behind every successful man is a woman. Caroline wanted to know if Mandy had what it took to be that kind of woman. Mandy, do you have any dietary restrictions? No, Auntie, I'll eat anything. Caroline Jiang smiled warmly and began ordering, picking a few dishes before handing the menu to Mandy. Mandy reflexively reached for it, but immediately realized it was impolite and quickly passed it to J.C. He casually checked off a few more items and returned the menu to the server. The moment the server left, Kathy Chun, J.C.'s aunt, jumped in with a leading question. Mandy, where do you go to school? J.C.'s brow furrowed again. Mandy, however, answered sweetly, I'm at the NYU Tisch School of the Arts. I'm a sophomore, but I'll be a junior after the summer. Tisch. Kathy shot a meaningful look at her sister, Caroline, a smirk playing on her lips. An art school. That explains why you're so pretty. Mandy, in her innocence, thought Kathy was complimenting her. Just as she was about to respond, Kathy added, Our J.C. is at Georgetown. He's the student body president, you know. Her expression seemed to scream, the two of you are worlds apart. You don't belong together. But Mandy just smiled. I know. He's amazing. J.C. silently rinsed the cup, filled it with hot water, and placed it in front of Mandy. Drink some water, he said gently. A small smile touched Caroline's lips. She knew her son's gesture was a way of defending Mandy, but it was clear Kathy didn't grasp the subtlety. She was already plowing ahead. So, what do your parents do? My dad works at a software company, and my mom's a homemaker. She stays home to take care of my little brother. You have a brother? Yes. After hearing this, Kathy nudged her sister again. Caroline knew exactly what the nudge meant. On the way over, Kathy had warned her, you have to be so careful when picking a daughter-in-law these days, or you're just asking for trouble. So many mothers and daughters-in-law are at each other's throats. Some of these girls don't just fail to contribute. They funnel their husband's family money straight back to their own. They're nothing but gold diggers. Caroline ignored her sister and turned to Mandy with a smile. How did you two meet? Mandy answered honestly. At a wedding. We were seated at the same table. A wedding? J.C. Help explain. It was the wedding for the Gold River Group chairman's son. My dad couldn't make it, so I went in his place. Kathy pressed on. So who pursued whom? Mandy was about to say, I pursued him, but J.C., fearing his aunt would find another reason to be critical, quickly cut in. I pursued her. Mandy glanced at him, surprised, then looked down, a wave of happiness warming her as she took a sip of water. J.C., his aunt began, didn't you say you weren't planning on dating before graduation? I introduced you to those two girls studying abroad, and you wouldn't even meet them. What made you suddenly change your mind? Mandy finally caught on that this aunt was bad news. She decided to follow Wyatt's advice. Listen more, talk less. J.C. replied coolly, we just fell for each other. I like her, she likes me. It's that simple. Aunt Kathy, I heard those two girls you introduced me to were originally meant for my cousin, Julian. He wasn't interested, so you passed them on to me. Do you really think I'd be interested in someone my cousin rejected? Kathy's face stiffened at J.C. A sharp retort, but she forced a smile. Now, don't say that. Everyone has different tastes. How would I know what type you like? J.C. chuckled and said nothing more. Everyone in the family knew that his aunt's son, Julian, was a notorious burnout. Only got into high school by pulling strings and had a history of smoking and fighting. Kathy finally fell silent. The food soon arrived, and Caroline began asking more normal, friendly questions. Perhaps seeing the look on J.C.'s face, Kathy kept her meddling to herself for the time being. The meal finally became pleasant. Mandy gradually relaxed and started talking more. J.C. thought about reminding her to be cautious, but seeing his mother and Mandy getting along so well, he let it go. Auntie, I'm going to use the restroom. Of course. Where's the restroom? J.C. stood up at the same time. I'll take you. Oh. The two of them left the private room together. The moment they were gone, Kathy's face soured. Caroline, don't tell me you actually approve of them? What's wrong? They're not a good match. Kathy insisted, her voice full of conviction. She is at a top university, and she's at some art school. You know, the kind of people who come out of there. They all go into Hollywood. It's a mess full of unsavory characters. Caroline didn't respond. Kathy grew more agitated. Caroline J.C. has never been in a relationship before. This is probably just a whim. He doesn't know any better, but you should. Young people make their own decisions about dating and marriage these days. G.C. is an adult. He has his own mind, and his father and I won't interfere in these matters. How can you not? Kathy exclaimed. G.C. is going to have a career in politics. A girlfriend should, if not help him, at least not hold him back. Did you see the way she was acting? Giggling and carrying on, not a hint of poise. Caroline remained unmoved. She had grown up with Kathy and knew her sister inside and out. She had expected this kind of behavior, so she was completely unfazed. Seeing her sister's silence, Kathy grew even more worked up, as if J.C. were her own son. G.C. and her son, Julian, were only a year apart. G.C. was a star student at a prestigious university, while Julian hadn't even finished high school before being shipped abroad, only to return a few months later to mooch off his parents. Kathy couldn't stand the thought of J.C. settling down so early, because it would only make her own son look even more like a failure. School, marriage, he couldn't compare in anything. Caroline, listen to me. Don't agree to this too quickly. I'll find some better girls for J.C. in a few days, I promise. Girls who are better than this one in every single way. The private room had terrible soundproofing, and when they had left, the door hadn't fully closed. G.C. and Mandy heard every last word. No matter how thick-skinned Mandy was, hearing J.C.'s family say something like that in this setting made her heart ache. Tears welled up in her eyes, betraying her. Mandy, where are you going? Without looking back, Mandy ran. G.C. couldn't stop her. He shoved the door to the room open with a bang, grabbed Mandy's purse from the table with a steely expression, and spun around to chase after her. Inside the private room, Caroline's brow was now knitted in clear displeasure. Her sister, Kathy, however, looked almost gleeful, as if she couldn't wait for J.C. and Mandy to break up. While Mandy's school wasn't Georgetown, NYU Tisch was one of the top art schools in the country. The fact that she'd gotten in was a testament to her looks and talent, which were far above average. In truth, Mandy was far more beautiful than the two girls Kathy had tried to set J.C. up with. But some relatives are like that. If my life isn't going well, I don't want yours to go well either. And they always do it under the guise of caring about you. Outside, Mandy ran out of the restaurant, covering her mouth. She was terrible with directions and had no idea where she was. The words she'd overheard echoed in her head, and the feeling of injustice grew stronger. She had never felt so helpless. In that moment, one person came to mind. It wasn't her father in Philadelphia, nor was it her mother. It was the person she had come to rely on since starting college, Wyatt. She dialed his number. As soon as she heard his voice, she managed to choke out, "Wyatt, can you come get me?" Her voice was thick with tears, breaking with each word. Wyatt stood up immediately. He didn't ask questions. In a calm, steady voice, he said, "Send me your location. I'm on my way." The call ended. After receiving Mandy's location, Wyatt was in his car and on the move. "Mandy, don't overthink it. My aunt is just like that. I didn't know she was going to be there today. My mom and my aunt are complete opposites. I promise she doesn't think the way my aunt does. This is all my fault. If I had stayed, she wouldn't have dared to say those things. Mandy, please don't cry." Seeing Mandy silent, tears streaming down her face, broke J.C.'s heart. He knew how much this day had meant to her. The night before, she had tried on 7 or 8 different outfits, all to make a good impression on his family. She was normally so cheerful and lively, but now she looked utterly pitiful as she cried. Just as J.C. was at a complete loss, Caroline walked out of the restaurant. Seeing the two of them on the sidewalk, she walked over. "Mandy, J.C.'s aunt has never been one to think before she speaks. Please don't take it to heart. I just gave her a piece of my mind in there." Mandy sniffled, but her face was still etched with sadness. G.C. knew she was in no mood to finish the meal. He said to Caroline, "Mom, I'm going to take Mandy home. We can do this dinner another time." Caroline nodded gently. Looking at the tear-streaked face of the young woman, she thought to herself, what a sincere, unguarded girl. Kathy stood at the restaurant entrance, peering out. Seeing the mother and son talking, she felt a sense of unease. She worried her sister would blame her for this. Even more, she feared J.C. would resent her from now on. She could afford to alienate other relatives, but not J.C.'s family. His father was only 50. In a few years, he could be promoted to a top position and might even be transferred back to D.C. If that happened, the Zhang family would soar. Kathy might be tactless, but she wasn't stupid enough to miss the implications. Seeing Caroline standing with Mandy for so long without coming back, Kathy couldn't stay put any longer. She started walking towards them. Just as she reached Caroline's side, an Audi 8 sped up and pulled over to the curb. Wyatt got out of the car immediately. Seeing the tears on Mandy's face, his brows knitted together. "Get in the car," he commanded. Mandy sniffled, gave Caroline a small nod, and mumbled, "Goodbye, Auntie," before opening the car door and sliding into the passenger seat. Wyatt closed the door for her, then walked over to J.C. "What happened?" J.C. awkwardly explained what had happened, but with Kathy standing right there, he couldn't repeat her exact words. He just summarized, "My aunt said something she shouldn't have, and so..." Aunt? Wyatt was confused. Wasn't she supposed to be having dinner with J.C.'s mother? Where did an aunt come from? Perhaps because Wyatt looked young and J.C. hadn't repeated her words verbatim. Kathy felt a surge of confidence. She scoffed, her face full of disdain. Kids these days are so sensitive. So what if an elder says something wrong? Is it really necessary to cry like that? Kathy, Caroline, snapped. Kathy pouted and turned her head away. Now Wyatt understood. This something she shouldn't have said was likely incredibly hurtful. But it was someone else's family business, and he couldn't interfere. He just looked at J.C. and said in an icy tone, "As a man, letting the girl you like cry is a pretty pathetic look." J.C. flinched, even more embarrassed. He opened his mouth to explain, but then thought better of it. It was too late for words. He let out a silent, helpless sigh. Caroline's gaze lingered on Wyatt. As he turned to leave, she was about to speak, but Kathy, standing beside her, let out another sarcastic remark. "Oomph. Birds of a feather flock together. So young, yet such a temper." Wyatt heard this, turned, and glared at Kathy. A curse was on the tip of his tongue, but after catching Caroline's eye, he swallowed it back down. He got in the car, stepped on the gas, and drove off. Caroline asked calmly, "Who is he?" "He's Mandy's cousin." "Cousin?" Kathy sneered. "I thought he was her brother. What right does a cousin have to say anything?" J.C. treated his aunt's words as if they were air. He continued, "He's the owner of the company I'm interning at. He just graduated from college this year. He owns 4 companies and is probably worth tens of billions." "Did you mention him to your father before? His last name is Sue, right?" "Yes. His name is Wyatt." Caroline nodded and turned to J.C. "Find a way to make it up to her. We were in the wrong today. Schedule another time and bring her home." Hearing this, J.C.'s face lit up. "Do I need to check with Dad? Do you think your mother doesn't have that much authority?" "I'll go then." "Go on." J.C. quickly got in his car and sped off in the direction Wyatt had gone. Caroline turned and went back into the restaurant. Kathy stood there, stunned, her mind reeling with the words tens of billions. By the time she snapped out of it, Caroline was already halfway to the private room. She quickly composed herself and hurried after her. Caroline, was what J.C. said true or not? How could someone who just graduated from college be worth tens of billions? "Server, could you please pack all of this up for me?" "Caroline, what are you packing it for? We can just eat here. It's not like we have anything else to do. Could you please double bag it? I don't want to spill in the car." "Thank you." "Caroline, if what J.C. said is true, then they're a perfect match. Our family has influence, his family has money. If they get together, we could all benefit. My worthless son." Caroline spun around, and the sharp sound of a slap echoed through the room. Kathy stared at her sister in disbelief, a bright red handprint slowly appearing on her cheek. "All right, stop crying." Mandy kept her head down. It was hard to tell if it was from the humiliation or embarrassment, but she hadn't looked up once since getting in the car. Wyatt spoke matter-of-factly. "That aunt of his, stay away from her in the future. The woman looks like trouble. You can tell just by looking at her." "Okay." "The other woman was his mom?" "Yeah. She didn't say anything bad to you, did she?" Mandy shook her head. "She didn't." Wyatt nodded. "That's good, then. She was on your side. It's just..." "Just what?" "His mom is smart. You're probably an open book to her," Wyatt said with a small laugh. "It's very likely that J.C.'s aunt was just a tool today, a pawn used to test your character. If J.C. asks you to dinner again in the next couple of days, it means you passed. If not, it means his mom doesn't approve. And I'm warning you, don't go chasing after them. If his mom doesn't like you, you're in for a world of hurt down the line." Mandy was completely lost, not quite understanding his analysis. After a moment, she asked naively, "So See, and his mom don't like that woman. Do you think everyone wears their heart on their sleeve like you do? Mandy pouted, about to argue, but then she remembered that it was Wyatt who had driven over to back her up. She held her tongue. Meanwhile, back in the restaurant's private room, Caroline's warm demeanor had vanished. Her face was cold as she addressed her sister. Last March, the wife of the Hong Company's chairman gave you $20,000. Last June, the owner of the U-Rome Plastic Surgery Center gave you a Louis Vuitton bag and another $10,000 in cash. Last October, after that brawl at the Starry Night Bar, the owner had his mistress stash $15,000 in your Beetle. They wanted your husband to go easy on them in the investigation. And you? Not only did you not tell your husband, you just took the money. Do you think nothing came of it because you were lucky, Kathy? I'll tell you why. It's because the day after you took that money, I had someone return every last cent, cleaning up your mess. The year before last, your husband was about to divorce you. You cried and swore you'd never do anything like that again. And what happens? The next year, you've completely forgotten. I'm telling you, from this day on, if you dare to take a single penny from anyone, I won't be there to wipe your ass like I was last year. I helped you because I was afraid the Jiang family would disown you, and even more afraid you'd disgrace our family. But since you refused to accept a lifeline, don't blame me for not acting like a sister. Kathy's eyes were wide and vacant, as if the slap had knocked the soul right out of her. Caroline, who had always been proper and never made enemies, continued with a cold laugh. Ever since we were little, you've loved to compete. But think about it. Since you can remember, have you ever beaten me at anything? That one time in 7th grade, you got a perfect score. Did you think I didn't know you stole the key to the teacher's office from me and copied the answers beforehand? Did you think Mom and Dad didn't know? They just wanted to save you some face to encourage you. And what did you do? The second you got the test back, you ran to Dad, asking for a reward. He told you that day, focus your energy on the right path from now on. You've probably long forgotten that, haven't you? When you were a kid, people just thought you were immature. But look at you now. You have a son of your own, and you haven't changed a bit. If Mom and Dad didn't still have some influence in D.C., do you think your husband would have waited until 2 years ago to ask for a divorce? Do you know that our father, who hasn't begged anyone for anything in half his life, spent a whole night drinking with your father-in-law when he came to the city, saying nothing but good things about you? I've lived in this city for so many years, walking on eggshells every single day, terrified of making a mistake. And you? You seem determined to ruin everything. Kathy, I'm telling you, from now on, if you dare interfere in my family's affairs again, if you dare spread gossip, if you dare use any more of your pathetic little schemes, it won't be just a slap. After she finished, Caroline walked to the restroom. When she returned, the server had packed up all the food. She took the bags and drove back to the family apartment provided by her husband's work unit. Kathy cried in the private room for a long time before finally, shamefaced, catching a cab home. She sent a message to her husband, but the reply she got was a curt 2 words, not free. Back home, Kathy sat on the sofa. An hour later, Julian, his hair dyed a garish green, came home. She wanted to talk to him, but he went straight to his room. A few minutes later, the sounds of video games filled the air. Another half-hour passed, and a middle-aged man came home. He glanced at the empty dining table, silently put down his briefcase, and went into the kitchen to cook some noodles. Kathy walked over and stood at the kitchen doorway. Someone hit me, she said coldly. The man sneered. Who would dare to hit you? My sister did. Look at the mark on my face. Without turning around, the man replied flatly, if a person like your sister hit someone, it means that person deserved to be hit. Your own wife gets hit, and you don't dare to say a damn thing. Henry Jiang, you're a useless piece of trash. With a loud clang, Henry slammed the spatula down at her feet, his face red with fury. You're right. From the moment I married you, I became useless. I must have been blind to marry you. I, Henry Jiang, must have done something terrible in a past life to have a son in his 20s who does nothing but fool around outside or play video games in his room. Kathy stared at her husband, her eyes filled with fear. At the family apartment, when Ethan Jiang got home, the dining table was already set with the takeout from the restaurant, reheated in the microwave. Where's Jay? See? He's off comforting that girlfriend of his. Comforting his girlfriend? That's right. Kathy insisted on coming along and ended up making the poor girl cry. Ethan sighed. Why did you let her come? Doesn't she stir up trouble wherever she goes? I've already dealt with her. Ethan nodded, accepting the bowl of rice his wife handed him. So what's the girl like? She's nice, very pretty, and sincere. I told Jay, see, to bring her home for another meal in a few days. If you say she's good, she's good. Should we have Jay? See, take her to meet the rest of the family. Ethan shook his head. Gee, see, is in his 20s. Let him handle his own affairs. Okay, where did this food come from? I cooked it. Yeah, I've been eating your cooking for over 20 years. You think I can't tell the difference? So which is better, my cooking or the restaurant's? Of course. Yours is better. Then you're on dish duty later. Fine, fine, I'll wash them. Eat more of the wood ear mushrooms. They're good for your circulation. You've got more gray hairs this year. MMM. Wyatt didn't take Mandy home. He dropped her off at her hotel. He figured J.C. would come looking for her, and bringing her back to his place would be inconvenient. As expected, a minute after he dropped her off, J.C.'s car pulled up. Mandy hadn't even made it to the elevator yet. When J.C. called, Mandy's first instinct was to ignore it. But remembering what Wyatt had said in the car, she hesitated, then answered. G.C. Mandy, where are you? Mandy, if you have something to say, say it. If not, I'm hanging up. Mandy wasn't the type to be gracious in these situations. She was still blaming J.C. for what happened. G.C. quickly added, my mom said to bring you home for dinner in a few days. My aunt, she's just like that. We barely see her. Besides, why do you care what she says? She's just a relative. What matters is what I think of you, not what anyone else says. His words hit the mark. Mandy looked at the open elevator doors in front of her, but didn't step inside. Over the phone, J.C. heard the chime and the automated please mind the closing doors announcement. He hurried into the hotel and immediately spotted Mandy waiting by the elevators. For the next few days, Wyatt didn't get any calls or messages from Mandy. But no news was good news. By late July, the weather had become unbearably hot. Thankfully, the office building and even the elevators were air-conditioned, creating a 15-degree difference from the sweltering heat outside. Crimson Listens was launched around this time. Unlike the novel app, they didn't spend any money on promotion, since the content was tied to the existing platform. Yet the app saw a surprising number of downloads. Wyatt, who was used to life in big cities, was unaware of the vast demographic of middle-aged women in smaller towns, counties, and rural areas. Many of them, with little formal education, were hopelessly addicted to overbearing CEO romance novels, to the point where they couldn't get through their day without listening to them. The app's top charts appeared on the second day. Number 1 was Reborn in the 80s as a stepmother. Number 2 was On Our First Date, The Billionaire Dragged Me to the Courthouse. Number 3 was Triplets in One Go, Pampered by the Brooding CEO. The charts made it clear. The user base was predominantly female, and they had a strong preference for novels featuring overbearing CEOs, brooding heroes, and wealthy families. In just a few months, Crimson Media had launched 3 successful apps that covered the entire industry. Using novels as a foundation, they created short-form dramas and developed a platform for human-narrated audiobooks, not only establishing a firm foothold, but also capturing a significant market share. One afternoon, Wyatt suddenly received a message on his phone from a top executive at Microsoft. The first message was very formal. Are you available? Wyatt typed back. Yes, what's up? The second message came as a voice note. Are you considering letting me invest in the Crimson Reads project? Wyatt replied with a smile. Mr. Mason, don't you already have a leading paid platform? Different lanes. That's a paid model. Crimson is free. In fact, the emergence of Crimson has already impacted our performance. I'll think about it. Great. Let's be in touch. Okay. It was expected that someone would come knocking, looking for a piece of the pie. Despite antitrust laws, every industry had its giants. Wyatt had money, but he lacked resources. Arc Interactive was a prime example. It was doing well before, but after partnering with a major corporation, its daily active user count had nearly doubled, now often bringing in 20 to 30 million a day. It was a certified blockbuster. For Crimson to take the next step, bringing in an internet giant was the fastest way. But Microsoft wasn't the best choice. They already had their own platform and wouldn't invest many more resources. So, after hanging up, Wyatt mentally crossed them off the list. After spending less than 4 hours at the office, Wyatt left early. Chloe, who had gotten used to her afternoon naps, had just woken up when he called. Pregnancy had made her even more prone to playful whining. Her voice was soft and sweet, like a young girl's. Chloe, what is it? Wyatt, smiling, are you awake? Chloe, just woke up. Wyatt, what do you want for dinner? I'll bring it home. Chloe, I don't feel like a meal. Can you just bring back some fruit? The grapefruit you bought last time was so good. And mangoes. Wyatt, nope, you have to eat some real food. How about I make you a light soup? Chloe, okay. Wyatt, I'm leaving now. I'll be home in about half an hour. Wait for me. Chloe, you got it. After hanging up, Wyatt headed to the supermarket. As he was walking through the fruit section, he got a call for Victor Yu. Victor had been a huge help with the film studio project, and they had been in frequent contact. Wyatt assumed this call was also about the studio, but unexpectedly, Victor was calling to ask if he was home. He said Vivian was with him and they wanted to stop by. Wyatt quickly replied, "I'm at the supermarket now. I'll be home in about 20 minutes. See you in a bit." See you. Vivian hadn't gone out much since having her baby, only recently starting to go back to the office. She wanted to visit today, partly to thank Wyatt for the success of YW, especially the live streaming department, and partly to congratulate Chloe on her pregnancy. After hanging up, Wyatt bought a few of Chloe's favorite fruits and went straight home. About 20 minutes later, Victor and Vivian arrived. Hearing the doorbell, Wyatt, who was in the kitchen cutting fruit, quickly wiped his hands and called out, "Don't get up. I'll get it. I'll get it." But by the time he came out of the kitchen, Chloe was already opening the door. Since Chloe's pregnancy, Wyatt had taken over almost all the household chores. Last night, when Chloe wanted to go downstairs for a glass of water, Wyatt had immediately gotten up to go with her. "Don't be so dramatic," she'd told him. "It's not like I don't have feet." Wyatt didn't dare argue, but he still got out of bed and followed her downstairs. After she got her water, she laughed. "You're like my little shadow. Are you going to follow me to the bathroom, too?" Wyatt nodded. "If you don't mind, I can." Chloe called him disgusting, but then deliberately walked up the stairs with a spring in her step. Wyatt followed behind, whining dramatically. "Your Highness, slow down. You two seem to be having a nice time here." Vivian smiled as she sat down on the sofa. Wyatt sighed. "It's all right. We're managing. After you found out you were pregnant, did you take Chloe to the doctor for a checkup?" "Of course. The doctor said everything looked good." Vivian laughed. "Well, this is perfect. We have such a big age gap, but our kids will only be a year apart. What are they even going to call each other?" "They'll call each other whatever they're supposed to." Vivian placed a bag on the table and patted Chloe's leg. "This is all stuff I used during my pregnancy. The oil is imported. It works wonders. Once your belly starts to get bigger, make sure Wyatt gives you a massage every day. I barely have any stretch marks, and it's all thanks to this oil. There's also a diet plan in there that my father-in-law had a professional put together. You can use it as a reference later on." Chloe turned to Wyatt. "Hey, did you hear that? Who are you calling, hey?" "You. I'm telling you, for the sake of the child in your belly, I'll let it slide. If it were any other time." Seeing Wyatt getting worked up, Chloe quickly cut him off. "If it were any other time, you'd do what?" I'd have to enforce some house rules." Chloe ignored him and turned back to chat with Vivian. Wyatt sat down with Victor to discuss the film studio. As the four of them were chatting, Shelly Chan from across the street received a phone call from her hometown. The moment she answered, she heard crying on the other end. Her heart immediately clenched. "What's wrong?" she asked urgently. "Did something happen at home?" After hearing the broken, sobbing explanation, Shelly's expression turned grim. She hung up and immediately called her husband, Carl. Half an hour later, Carl rushed home, his face etched with anxiety. "What happened to my dad?" "Your sister said he was cleaning the roof this morning. He fell off the ladder. They took him to the county hospital, but they wouldn't admit him. Now he's at the city hospital. Quick, check if there are any flights home. We need to go tonight." "What about Holly?" "Your mom and sister are at the hospital. There's no one to look after her." Carl thought for a moment. "We'll ask Wyatt and his wife to watch her for a few days. It's the only way." Shelly nodded. "I'll go talk to them. You look for flights. My bag is already packed. I can leave any time." "Okay." Shelly took Holly by the hand, walked over to Wyatt's yard, and rang the doorbell. Wyatt opened the door and, seeing the look on Shelly's face, knew something was wrong. Shelly quickly explained the situation. Wyatt listened and readily agreed. "No problem at all. You can leave Holly with me. I'll take good care of her." "Thank you so much." "Hey, it's nothing." Shelly bent down to Holly. "Holly, you be good at Uncle Wyatt's house, okay? No mischief, you hear me?" The little girl seemed to understand that her parents were in trouble and nodded obediently. "I'll go pack a few of her things," Shelly continued. "She's fine sleeping by herself. She's not afraid." "Okay." Shelly hurried back and forth, bringing a few changes of clothes before rushing home to sort out the next steps with Carl. Seeing the little girl looking lost, Wyatt handed her the remote control. "It's okay," he comforted her. "Your mom and dad will be back in a few days. You can watch some cartoons, and Uncle will make you dinner later." A child's world doesn't hold sadness for long. She soon settled on the sofa, sitting primly as she watched her show. Victor and Vivian left before dinner. When Wyatt saw them out, the door across the street was already locked. He closed his own door and went back to make dinner. At 7 o'clock, the sun was just beginning to set. "Dinner's ready." Hearing his voice, Chloe gently rubbed Holly's head. "Holly, time to eat first. We can watch more later." The little girl must have had snacks in the afternoon and wasn't very hungry yet. She shook her head. "Let me finish this episode." Chloe was at a loss. She looked up and called out to Wyatt. Wyatt raised his voice. Holly-chun. As if a switch had been flipped, the little girl immediately jumped off the sofa, not forgetting to pause her cartoon. Chloe sighed, wondering why kids these days only listen when you got firm with them. Let's have her sleep in the innermost room. It's farther from the road, so she won't be woken up in the morning. Okay, we'll go make the bed in a bit. Holly, do you have my number in your watch? The little girl shook her head. Chloe shot Wyatt a look. He quickly took the watch, saved his number in it, and put it back on her wrist. Call me if you need anything, he instructed. During the day when I'm at work, you stay here with Aunt Chloe, okay? If you're good, I'll bring you back something tasty tonight. I don't have much, but I have a lot of money. If you're not good, I'll sign you up for 2 tutoring classes tomorrow, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. The little girl was startled. She quickly took 2 large bites of rice and said while chewing vigorously, "When have I not been good?" Wyatt and Chloe exchanged a smile. After dinner, they went downstairs to make the bed. Then Wyatt stayed in the kitchen to do the dishes, while Chloe let the little girl finish her cartoon before taking her upstairs for a bath. When Wyatt finished his chores, he went upstairs to take over putting Holly to bed. The little girl must have been used to the new bed, because it took a long time and several fairy tales before she finally fell asleep. Wyatt turned off the light, gently closed the door, and let out a long sigh as he left the room. I guess this is me getting some early practice for being a dad, he thought. Seeing him return, Chloe smiled. She asleep? Finally. What took so long? How should I know? I told her stories until my throat was dry, and she was still wide awake. I was the one getting sleepy. Haha, you think being a parent is that easy? Wyatt sighed and said, Don't let her get away with too much during the day. Make sure she does her homework. Don't let her eat snacks all day. A kid's stomach is different from ours. We don't want her getting sick. When are Carl and Shelley coming back? They didn't say, but if her dad was transferred from the county hospital to the city hospital, it must be serious. I'm guessing it'll be at least 3 to 5 days. Wyatt collapsed onto the bed. Chloe immediately kicked him. Go take a shower first. Wyatt rubbed his lower back, grabbed a pair of shorts, and obediently went to take a shower. That night, he slept like a log. Holly woke up naturally at 7. She was used to going to bed before 9 and waking up around 7, a habit she'd formed at home. When she first woke up, she lay in the unfamiliar room, dazed for a moment, before remembering the events of the previous evening. She climbed out of bed. The good thing about summer was not having to bundle up in layers like in winter. The little girl slipped on her slippers, rummaged through her bag for her toothbrush and strawberry-flavored kids' toothpaste, and then trotted into the bathroom like a little adult. She stood on her tiptoes to fill a cup with water and brushed her teeth in a few quick strokes. Then, she found her small towel, wet it, and wiped it haphazardly across her face. Her little arms weren't strong enough to wring it out properly, so her face was still damp when she was done. After washing up, she ambitiously tried to tie her hair into a ponytail, but after much effort, the ponytail remained unformed, and her hair was even messier than before. With a sigh that sounded far too old for her years, Holly left the bathroom and headed downstairs. She probably assumed Wyatt and Chloe would be up before her, just like her own parents. What she didn't know was that, at that moment, Wyatt and Chloe were still fast asleep on the 3rd floor. Holly wandered around the 1st floor, but seeing no one, she trotted up the stairs to the master bedroom on the 3rd floor. She raised her small hand and knocked politely twice on the door. When there was no response, she tentatively placed her hand on the doorknob. To her surprise, the door opened with little effort. Wyatt never locked the bedroom door. The main gate and front door, along with several cameras in the yard, were enough security. Seeing that she'd opened the door, Holly scampered into the room. The first thing she saw was Wyatt on the bed, his feet sticking out from under the covers, still deep in sleep. Chloe was draped over him like an octopus. Neither of them showed any signs of waking up. Holly knew it wasn't right to wake people up, so she moved quietly. She scanned the room, and her eyes landed on Chloe's vanity. A love for beauty is universal, even in children. Every little girl has probably tried on her mother's high heels at some point. Holly was immediately captivated by Chloe's princess-style vanity mirror. She hoisted herself onto the chair, her short legs dangling in the air. She stared at the dazzling array of cosmetics, wanting to touch them, but not daring to. In the end, curiosity won. Let's take a look, she thought. I'll put it back right away. They won't even notice. She reached for a cylindrical lipstick tube and, after a struggle, managed to twist it open. She glanced back at the sleeping couple, then at her reflection in the mirror, her mind repeating the mantra. Just a little bit. I'll put it back, and no one will know. She'd successfully brainwashed herself. Leaning into the mirror, she began to apply the lipstick to her small mouth. But having never used it before, her hand was unsteady. The color went outside her lip line. Trying to fix it, she made the lipstick area wider to cover the mistake, but that only made it worse. Within minutes, her face was a smudged mess. Just as she was starting to panic, Chloe stirred on the bed. She rolled over, moving her leg off Wyatt. Seeing him still asleep, she decided to go downstairs and make breakfast. Wanted to save him the trouble since he was already busy with work and household chores. But as she sat up, she saw Holly with her back to her. Startled, Chloe let out an instinctive scream. The scream, in turn, terrified Holly, who dropped the lipstick. The sound woke Wyatt, who shot up in bed. Both of their gazes fell on Holly's back. Holly turned around slowly, a lipstick-smeared, embarrassed smile on her face. Wyatt and Chloe's eyes widened in unison. Then they looked at each other, and as if they'd just witnessed the funniest thing in the world, they both clutched their stomachs and burst out laughing. Ha ha! Holly had expected to be scolded, but seeing Wyatt and Chloe just laughing, she started to giggle along with them, though her laughter was a bit strained. Finally, Chloe nudged Wyatt. All right, stop laughing. Go get her cleaned up. What's the rush? Wyatt beckoned Holly. Holly, come here. Holly hopped off the chair and obediently trotted to the bed. Wyatt lifted her onto the mattress, took out his phone, opened a front-facing camera, and aimed it at both of them. Say cheese, he commanded. Holly, now very aware of her ugly state, was too embarrassed to say anything. As she looked down shyly, Wyatt snapped the picture and immediately posted it to his social media feed. Haha, this just made my morning. He attached the photo he'd just taken. Within seconds, likes and comments started rolling in. Wyatt didn't have time to look. He put on his shoes and led Holly to the bathroom to wash her face. After a while, his voice came from inside. It's not coming off. What do I do? Chloe found the makeup remover, walked in the bathroom, and helped clean the lipstick off Holly's face. After the whole ordeal, it was already 8:30 by the time the three of them came downstairs. Wyatt quickly boiled a package of sweet rice balls for breakfast, and after eating, he rushed off to the office. Once Wyatt left, Chloe went upstairs again. When she came down, she saw Holly was still eating. She held up a tube of lip balm. Holly, if you finish in 5 minutes, I'll give you this as a reward. Holly blinked, thought for 2 seconds, and then began to eat with gusto, even drinking the plain broth from a bowl. True to her word, Chloe handed the lip balm to Holly. Holly took it happily, but looking at the white stick, she frowned. Andy, why is it white? Lipstick is for grown-ups. This is lip balm for kids. It makes your lips smell nice. Is it for kissing? Chloe was speechless. Are all kids' minds this random now? She wondered. Why does lip balm automatically mean kissing? You use it when your lips are dry. This was Holly's first ever piece of makeup, and she was thrilled. Miles away, Shelley must have seen Wyatt's morning post. She called and gave Holly a lecture. When she hung up, Holly was still muttering defiantly, I hope Mom never comes back. I want to live at Uncle Wyatt's house forever. Shelley was about to say more, but Holly immediately ended the call on her watch. Chloe, who was braiding Holly's hair, didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If I have a daughter, she thought, is she going to be a daddy's girl, too? The first thing Wyatt did when he got to the office was hold a remote meeting with the Riverwood Film Studio project team to get a progress update. He was now mostly hands-off with investments, only spending time on documents that required his signature. With Carter, Chris, and Sam handling things, a lot was taken off his plate. However, he still had to keep a close eye on Arc Interactive and Crimson Media. They were both still in their early stages, and he worried they would stray from the path he'd set if he didn't watch them. In the summer, the mornings seemed to fly by, while the afternoons dragged on. But to get home to his wife earlier, Wyatt worked even during his lunch break. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there was a knock on his office door. After he called out, "Come in," the door opened, and Mandy walked in, holding J.C.'s hand. Wyatt looked up, seeing them hand in hand and the smile on Mandy's face. He guessed she had already had dinner with J.C.'s family. Wyatt, you busy? What do you think? Can I talk to you about something? Spit it out. Mandy feigned embarrassment, giggling. G.C. and I are planning on going on a trip. Is it okay if I don't work this month and just come back next month? G.C. is somewhat useful to the company. You, on the other hand, are a complete liability. It makes no difference whether you're here or not. Oh, come on, Wyatt. Wyatt waved his hand dismissively. Go. Go wherever you want. I couldn't care less. Mandy put on a pleading look again, smiling sweetly. So, could you maybe sponsor our trip a little? Before Wyatt could respond, J.C., who had been dragged along, quickly pulled Mandy back. I have money. Wyatt laughed in disbelief. Mandy, what's going on in that head of yours? You two are dating, and I have to sponsor it. We're students. Where are we supposed to get money? Please, Wyatt. Wyatt rolled his eyes. I'll Venmo you tonight. Now get out of my sight. Thanks, Wyatt. I'm gone. Before she left, Mandy even poured him a glass of water. After they were gone, Wyatt went back to work. At 4 o'clock, having finished all the paperwork on his desk, he stood up, walked to the window, and called his Aunt Sharon. Sharon was a full-time homemaker and was currently binging a short-form drama on Crimson Reeds. When she saw Wyatt's call, she answered immediately. Hello, Wyatt. Aunt Sharon. Is Uncle home from work yet? Not yet. What's wrong? Did Mandy get into trouble? Wyatt chuckled. No, nothing like that. I just have something to tell you. But don't get too worked up when you hear it. What is it? Tell me. Well, Mandy and her boyfriend are official now. I think she's already met his parents. I knew it. That girl not coming home for the summer. I knew she was hiding something. After a brief complaint, his aunt immediately asked, What's the boy like? He's pretty outstanding. He's at Georgetown, student body president. His dad's in the government, pretty high up. What? Such a prominent family. Will Mandy be treated well if she marries into it? Wyatt was surprised that this was his aunt's first concern. He quickly reassured her, Mandy's beautiful and talented too. They're a good match. There shouldn't be any major issues. You vetted the boy, right? Yes. That's good then. Wyatt reminded her, Auntie, I'm just giving you a heads up so you're in the loop. Don't turn around and start grilling Mandy about it, or she'll never tell me anything again. I understand. Okay, that's all. I'm heading home. Chloe's pregnant, and I want to spend more time with her. Of course, go ahead. When Wyatt got home, he saw Holly sitting properly at the table, doing her summer homework. He was pleasantly surprised. He tiptoed over to Chloe, gestured with his eyes, and whispered, What's going on? What do you mean? Wyatt pointed at Holly. Chloe finally laughed. She probably knows you're about to get off work, so she's putting on a show. Half an hour ago, she was watching cartoons. She then added, Kids these days are so clever. Holly had heard them whispering, but she pretended to have just noticed Wyatt and called out in surprise, Uncle Wyatt, you're back? Wyatt gave a serious mm. Holly immediately asked, Didn't you say you'd buy me something yummy if I was good? Wyatt played dumb. Did I say that? Holly got anxious. Yes, you did. All right, well, were you good today? I was. Holly, apparently thinking Chloe was an easy target, added, If you don't believe me, ask Auntie Chloe. She shot Chloe a look, winking furiously. Chloe, soft-hearted as ever, quickly chimed in. Yes, Holly was very good today. Wyatt played along. All right, I'll go buy it now. You stay here and do your homework. I'm going to check it later. You didn't even ask what I want. Wyatt sighed in mock exasperation. So what do you want? Ice cream. Strawberry flavor. Chloe raised her hand. I want some too. Wyatt hesitated. Are you allowed to have that? Why not? The book says it's fine, as long as it's in moderation. Fine. You two wait here. I'll be right back. Wyatt drove to the store. With one big and one small person eagerly awaiting his return, he didn't take long. He had initially planned on going to the supermarket to stock up, but since he had to work during the day, he was afraid Chloe wouldn't be able to control Holly. So he just went to the ice cream shop and bought 2 cones. Uncle, I want it. Seeing the ice cream in Wyatt's hand, Holly's eyes lit up. She ran over to him, jumping up and down. Wyatt handed 1 cone to Chloe and then instructed Holly, Go get your homework for me to check. The little girl quickly handed her summer workbook to Wyatt. After they made the exchange, Wyatt realized that the little schemer had only done 3 problems in all that time, and 2 of them were wrong. James has 5 apples. Lily has 7 more apples than James. How many apples does Lily have? Holly, how did you get this answer? What does 7 minus 5 mean? Oh, your mom wrote the date on every page. You mean to tell me you only did 3 problems today, and 2 of them were wrong? Wyatt snatched the ice cream back. Are you even trying when you do your homework? He demanded sternly. Holly instantly transformed into a chastened child. She stood before him, her eyes red, her lower lip covering her upper lip. I know I was wrong, she whimpered pitifully. Wyatt's resolve shattered. Damn it, what man can resist this? He let out a long sigh, patted Holly on the head, and handed the ice cream back to her. You eat first. After you're done, Uncle will help you with these 2 problems. The little girl quickly took it, her face breaking into a wide, happy smile. Okay. After taking care of Holly for a few days, Wyatt finally understood how difficult raising a child could be. Carl and Shelley spent a full week at the hospital, and by the time they returned, it was the end of July. Progress on the Riverwood house was moving quickly. The tile and flooring were already done, and they were about to move into the custom cabinetry phase. The film studio project had also broken ground, with government officials overseeing it. Everything was proceeding smoothly. As for the companies, they were all on a steady upward trajectory. It was only in the last couple of days that Wyatt learned just how much capital C Investments had on its books, an amount that most people couldn't even fathom. The vast majority of it came from the sale of their OFO Bikes shares. The bike-sharing company was now on a downward slope, with its public image worsening by the day. Not only were the people at OFO panicking, but so were the investment firms that had backed them. Thankfully, Michael's uncle had sold his shares in the first half of the year, hitting the absolute peak. Walter Zhao had even called Wyatt specifically to thank him, though Wyatt had humbly brushed it off. In the conference room, during the monthly meeting, Chris spoke up. Now that we have this much cash on hand, shouldn't we start looking at some bigger projects? Carter Lew nodded in support. I agree. Bigger projects mean higher investment amounts, but the corresponding risk is lower. We haven't invested in anything over $100 million yet. Wyatt thought for a moment and then said, all right, I'll give you a few sectors. I want you to focus on companies within these areas. 1. The renewable energy sector. 2. The short-form video sector. 3. Artificial intelligence. 4. The wellness and healthcare sector. And 5. The new retail sector. I predict these 5 sectors will see significant growth in the coming years. Starting today, our investment amount has no ceiling. As long as a project has growth potential and investment value, whether it's $500 million or $1 billion, we'll invest. Carter reminded him, Inc. Live is going public on the Hong Kong exchange in August. Wyatt had almost forgotten. Find a good opportunity to cash out, he said quickly. The peak of live streaming is over. With short-form video on the rise, it's going to be hard for traditional streaming to find new growth. Got it. I'll arrange it. All right, Wyatt said with a smile. That's it for today. Everyone back to work. A chorus of chairs scraping against the floor filled the room. Wyatt stood up, and just as he was about to head upstairs, his phone buzzed. He pulled it out and saw it wasn't a message, but a friend request. When he saw the name, he stopped in his tracks. Zhang Yiming. Wyatt didn't hesitate. He accepted the request and immediately checked the person's profile. Seeing his recent posts, Wyatt was almost certain it was the founder of ByteDance. As he was still marveling at this, a message came through. Hello, is this Mr. Wyatt of C. Group? Wyatt quickly replied, Hello. Yes, it is. I'm in the city recently. I was wondering if you had time to sit down and chat. I think we'd have a lot to talk about. Wyatt replied without a second thought. No time like the present. How about this afternoon? Great. I'll send you the location. Sound good. See you this afternoon then. See you. After the brief exchange, Wyatt put his phone away. He wasn't surprised that Zhang Yiming had gotten his contact information. In their circle, it was easy enough. But he was curious about the reason for the meeting. It couldn't just be for a chat. He immediately thought of Crimson Reeds. If he hadn't launched it first, ByteDance's own Tomato novels would have been released in late 2019. He had completely used it as a template. Could it be about that? Wyatt chuckled and went upstairs to find Michael. Soon after, Zhang Yiming sent the location for their afternoon meeting. It was a private club, the kind of place where the wealthy liked to talk business. It offered privacy and top-notch service. When Wyatt found Michael, he was in his office, doing squats while looking at his phone. It was a ridiculous sight. Well, look at you, Mr. Zhao, Wyatt teased. Getting your workout in at the office. Don't even start. Michael was full of resentment. This is all your fault. My fault. Isabel saw that your wife is pregnant, and now she wants to have a son to play with. She's forcing me to get ready for pregnancy. I swear. Ha ha ha. What's so funny? What do you want? Nothing. Wyatt said casually. Zhang Yiming from ByteDance just added me. He wants to talk this afternoon. I'm guessing it's about Crimson. Talk about Crimson? ByteDance already has news, short-form video, a car site, even a camera app. I bet he wants to get into the novel industry. Novels and their derivative short-form dramas are a perfect fit for their company. Michael stopped his squats. What are you thinking? Microsoft approached me about a while back, but I said no. They already have their own platform and won't invest enough resources. But if it's ByteDance, that's worth considering. Think about it. With the kind of traffic TikTok has, imagine the benefit to us. Michael pressed, so your idea is if the price is right, we cooperate? Nope. Wyatt grinned mischievously. I want to make a trade with him. What kind of trade? The international version of Douyin, TikTok, launched in the US at the beginning of this year. The monthly active users are SOSO right now, but I think it has huge potential. If he wants to invest in Crimson, in exchange, he has to let me invest in TikTok. That's not going to be a small amount of money. Wyatt clapped Michael on the shoulder, a wide smile on his face. The one thing I'm not short on right now is money. After we cash out of Inc. Live, I estimate the company will have over $500 million. Hearing this, Michael yelped as if his tail had been stepped on. What the hell? Dollars? US dollars. Chris was right. You're not even human. You know me, I'm not really interested in money. Get the hell out of here. Tomorrow's Saturday. Come over to my place for a get-together. I'll call the others too. All right. Wyatt adopted the tone of a seasoned veteran. When you're doing your squats, you can also do some Kegels. It's good for you. Just get out of here. After his lunch break, Wyatt drove alone to the private club Zhang Yiming had sent him. Zhang must have already informed the staff, because as soon as Wyatt walked in, someone approached him. "Excuse me, are you Mr. Wyatt?" After Wyatt nodded, the staff member led him to a private tea room. When the door opened, Zhang Yiming stood up and extended his hand with a smile. "Mr. Wyatt, you're even younger than I imagined." Wyatt shook his hand. "The pleasure is all mine, Mr. Zhang. Please sit." Wyatt sat down and said to the waiting server, "I'll have a black tea, please." "Thank you." Right away. Zhang Yiming, born in the 80s, still had the air of a tech guy despite being a boss for many years. He pushed up his glasses and initiated the conversation. "Before I came to the city, I took a look at your resume. You're far more accomplished than I was in college. Just lucky, I guess. To succeed in business, you need luck, skill, and vision. One is not enough without the others." Wyatt nodded. "That's true." The server returned with a cup of black tea, then quickly exited, closing the door behind her. By now, Wyatt felt no nervousness at all when facing these business titans. He picked up his cup, took a sip, and then said with a smile, "Mr. Zhang, we're both young. Let's not beat around the bush. I'm sure you didn't invite me here this afternoon just for tea." Zhang Yiming wasn't surprised by his directness. The business world was a battlefield, and anyone who survived was no fool. "You're right. I'm interested in your Crimson Media company. Figured as much. Your short-form dramas are driving a lot of traffic on TikTok." "Indeed." Zhang Yiming smiled. "So you already guessed my purpose before you came?" "I did." "Then tell me what you're thinking." Wyatt kept him in suspense. "I'd like to make a trade with you, Mr. Zhang." "What kind of trade?" "I'll let you invest in Crimson, and you'll let me invest in TikTok." "TikTok?" "That's right." Zhang Yiming was genuinely surprised. TikTok only launched last year and just entered the US market this year. While there's no external valuation yet, we spent $1 billion acquiring Musical. LY. Our internal valuation is around $2.5 billion. However, since we're facing an international market, we want to bring in foreign capital to help with development. So, I can offer at most a 20% stake to domestic investors. "Well, that's a coincidence," Wyatt said with a grin. "I happen to have $500 million I can spare." Zhang Yiming frowned. "The US market is fiercely competitive. You have Twitter and Facebook. There's no guarantee TikTok can break through. $500 million is no small sum for you. Are you sure you want to make this deal? Don't you have confidence in yourself, Mr. Zhang?" "That's not what I mean. I'm just reminding you. As for Crimson, what do you think its current valuation is?" "Crimson has used its free model to rapidly carve out a niche in the market," Zhang Yiming said. "I heard from my team that you even took down a rival site, Soaring Stories." Wyatt smiled. "It's no exaggeration to say that Crimson will become the #1 free novel platform. It is now, and it will be in the future. But it's still just the beginning. If Crimson can partner with ByteDance, there would be a huge upside. So, I can offer a 45% stake. How about this, Mr. Zhang? We both dip our fingers in water and write a number on the table in front of us, in units of hundreds of millions. Let's both be honest. How about it?" Zhang Yiming nodded with great interest. "Sounds good." Wyatt quickly dipped his finger in his tea and, without hesitation, wrote a 5 behind his teacup. Even though Crimson was just starting out, with the daily active users of its novel, short-form drama, and audiobook apps constantly growing, in Wyatt's mind, it was worth $1 billion. 45% of that would be 450 million yuan, but in a negotiation, you always had to leave some room to bargain. Seeing that Zhang Yiming had also written his number, they exchanged a smile and lifted their teacups at the same time. Wyatt had written a 5. Zhang Yiming had written a 4. It was as if they had both seen right through each other's strategy. They burst out laughing together. "Well then, let's skip the haggling and just meet in the middle. Deal. A pleasure doing business with you." "A pleasure." After sealing the deal, Wyatt didn't leave right away. He and Zhang Yiming continued to chat for over an hour. They truly did have a lot in common. As the conversation went on, Wyatt even laid out a simple roadmap for TikTok's future development, which greatly impressed Zhang. He hadn't expected Wyatt to have such long-term vision. By the end, both men felt a sense of camaraderie, as if they had known each other for years. It was already 4 o'clock when he left the club. Wyatt didn't bother going back to the office and drove straight home. Chloe was lying on the sofa, aimlessly scrolling through her phone. Seeing Wyatt return, she realized her eyes were sore. As she tried to sit up and rub them, she threw out her back. "Oh, what's wrong?" It hurts, it hurts." Wyatt rushed over. "Where does it hurt?" "My back." "Lie face down, don't move." Wyatt straddled the sofa and began to gently massage her back. People usually get back pain when they're 70 or 80. You're barely in your 20s and you're already having problems. I threw out my back, okay? You try insulting me again. And what are you going to do about it? Chloe placed a hand on her stomach. You insult me. I'll take it out on your son. Chloe, you're really something. Now you're using the emperor to command the nobles. You know it. Tomorrow is Saturday. I've invited everyone over for a barbecue in the yard tomorrow afternoon. Oh, good. Should we go to the supermarket tonight or tomorrow morning? Wyatt shrugged. Tomorrow's fine. I can go by myself. Why can't I go? I don't want you to get tired, but I'll go crazy if I'm stuck at home all day. Wyatt smiled. All right, then we'll go to the supermarket together tomorrow morning. And after dinner, I'll take you for a walk. We haven't been to Annie Elaine's house in a long time. Should we invite her over tomorrow, too? Yeah, I'll call her tonight. Little Evan is 3 now. He's at a fun age. Let's have her bring him along. Dork, Chloe tugged on the sleeve of Wyatt's shirt. She sat up on the sofa, tilted her head back, and said, Kiss me. Wyatt deliberately put on a reluctant act. Oh, come on. We're an old married couple. What's there to kiss? Chloe pouted, made a gun shape with her right hand, and pointed it at her stomach. Are you going to kiss me or not? She threatened. Wyatt immediately surrendered. Okay, I'll kiss you. The next afternoon, the group of friends arrived early, almost all in pairs. Chris and Paige, Leo and Sophie, Michael and Isabel. Evan and Ashley couldn't make it. Their pearl jewelry store, Aqueous Gems, was much busier on weekends, so they were both working. It was over 90 degrees outside, so those who arrived early could only sit in the living room and chat. With a chatterbox like Isabel around, there was never a shortage of topics. Michael pulled Wyatt aside to ask about his meeting with Zhang Yiming the day before. Wyatt told him the truth. When Michael heard that Wyatt was planning to invest $500 million in TikTok, a platform that had just entered the U.S. market, his eyes nearly popped out of his head. Are you crazy? You're throwing all your cash into one thing. You have to risk it to get the biscuit. Wyatt, of course, didn't tell Michael that TikTok would be valued at $30 billion by 2020 and a staggering $150 billion by 2025. But Michael, unable to see the future, was still agitated. Look, how many domestic apps have successfully gone international? Microsoft is a huge company, but how many people abroad use their messaging apps? It's different. Messaging apps can be copied. So can short-form video, but the algorithm can't. TikTok's algorithm is second to none. The reason it captured the domestic market so quickly is the same reason it has a chance to do the same abroad. Do you know what TikTok's daily active users in this country are? How would I know? 250 million. Its monthly active users have broken 500 million. I told you before, in this day and age, traffic is money. Right now, it's just short-form video, but once they've captured the users, they could do live streaming, e-commerce, even local services. Wyatt smiled. Zhang Yiming is a very clear-headed person. He's already planned to attract foreign investment for TikTok. Besides, ByteDance itself has 4 investors. With that foundation, TikTok shouldn't face too many obstacles in the early stages. This is all just your own speculation. Wyatt clapped Michael on the shoulder, a half-smile on his face. But my judgment hasn't been wrong yet. Michael was speechless. He finally sighed. Why am I even worrying for you? It's your money. If you lose it, great. At least I won't be so jealous. You jerk. Chris walked over and chimed in. You two are no fun. We finally get a day off, and you're still talking about work. Aren't you tired? How's Paige? Her parents came to the city. And your parents came too? Yep. It's a full house. Paige added sarcastically. Well, we need people at home. Can't count on someone. Isabel immediately jumped in. Exactly. You can't rely on men for anything. If I get pregnant, I'm calling my mom back from Australia. Michael slapped his forehead, cursing internally. How'd this turn back to me? Seriously, Isabel continued. Are we just going to sit here on our day off? What else can we do? It's scorching outside. How about a few rounds of poker or mahjong? It'll have to be poker. We don't have a mahjong table. Isabel said. Then by one. You're such a big boss now. You can't afford a mahjong table. Yeah. Ashley and Sophie chimed in. Wyatt sighed in resignation. Fine, file by one. It's too late for today, but I'll definitely have one by next time, okay? Michael seized the opportunity. I propose we get together every 2 weeks from now on, and Mr. Wyatt pays for everything. Damn it, it's so unfair. Why was it that before you all graduated, I was the one paying every time we went out to eat? Ha ha ha. Elaine arrived around 4 in the afternoon. When she came, Wyatt, Michael, Leo, and Chris were playing poker, while the others were gathered around, acting as armchair generals and telling them what cards to play. Seeing Elaine, Wyatt handed his cards to Evan, stood up to greet her, and immediately scooped little Evan up from the floor. Say hi. he commanded playfully. "Hi, Uncle." Only then did Wyatt smile at Elaine. "It's been a while since I've been to your place. Work has been busy, and with Chloe pregnant, my life has become a 2-point commute. I don't even feel like going out on weekends. Your mom told me. Thankfully, the little guy can walk and run now, so it's easier to take him out. Sophie, can you give me a glass of water?" Sophie pouted. "You have a wife. Why are you asking me? You're not pregnant." Wyatt, you're the worst." Chloe pulled Sophie back and went to get a glass of freshly squeezed orange juice herself. Wyatt had Elaine sit down, handed little Evan to Chloe, and then went into the kitchen to start prepping for the evening's barbecue. Wyatt knew there would be a lot of people, so he had bought mostly frozen, pre-made items. But for the barbecue, Chloe only liked vegetables, so he mainly had to prepare things like enoki mushrooms, bok choy, and eggplant. He had also bought some bananas, wanting to try and replicate the grilled bananas, crispy on the outside, soft on the inside, that he used to eat at a barbecue joint back home. He hadn't been in the kitchen long when Leo sent Sophie in to help. Sophie, feeling awkward being alone, dragged Ashley along with her. The three of them spent an hour preparing the barbecue ingredients. By 5 o'clock, the sun was still high. Wyatt looked at the time and called for the non-poker players to help him move the grill into the yard. By the time the charcoal was hot and the sun began to set, everyone had moved out into the yard. 3-year-old Evan immediately became the center of attention. He was a bit shy at first, but after a little while, he started getting mischievous. Isabel pulled him into her lap, smiling. "Evan, sweetie, can I ask you something?" Evan wanted to go help Wyatt with the skewers and was getting impatient. He struggled a few times, but finding he couldn't break free, he finally gave in. "I'll give you a piece of candy if you let me touch your little wee-wee, okay?" As soon as Isabel said this, Michael rolled his eyes. The 3 roommates were used to her and just snickered. Everyone's attention was on little Evan, waiting to see how he would respond. To their surprise, Evan gave a firm, positive answer. "Okay." Elaine was mortified. She quickly called him over and began to give him the sex ed talk he probably wouldn't have needed for another decade. But Evan was not having it. He started jumping up and down, shouting, "Let her touch. Let her touch. She can touch even without candy." No one could calm him down. "Evan, come here." Wyatt beckoned to him. Evan immediately stopped shouting and obediently walked over. Wyatt said in a serious tone, "Listen to me. A man has to have some dignity. You can't just let someone touch you for a piece of candy." Evan listened and nodded very seriously. Wyatt patted his little head and then quickly added, "But if she's a pretty lady, it's okay to let her touch." Ha 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 ha. The entire yard erupted in explosive laughter. Chloe stood with her hands on her hips, looking like she wanted to punch someone.